Hey world,
Hey Dallas.
I'm Alvin,
I'm Charles.
and welcome to Tit for Tat.
This and that.
And, so today we are going to be talking about um, when the relationship ends or seems to end, or when like things start going wrong, when love is not enough to hold that relationship together. Um, so you want to take it up, take Charles, take Charles. I can't even get out. You want to shoot Charles? Get it out. Go ahead and start it. This is your baby.
This is my baby.
Yeah, you said you wanted to talk about this week.
Oh,
So,
okay.
you
Well,
go ahead,
basically,
pour your cocktail, and then you go ahead and start it off.
basically, I was watching Craig Wright the Stewart or whatever. It's a little series about black men, black gay men, and older black gay men. And one of the things that they discussed was relationships and how, at their age, it's a little different, when you get to your 40s, 50s, 60s, or whatever. It's a little different because now you have friends that may have passed on, or you may even have younger friends. And then with those younger friends, how do you, interact with them? How do you interact with the I guess new gays that are coming out or coming up or whatever. And so one of the things that they discussed was how that I wanted to focus on was when the relationship, begins to go sour or whatever, when it begins to be like, should we even still be in this? There are times where, you kind of get into a routine and it's kind of like the same old or whatever. So it's like we're just living just to I don't know, just to exist and not really to enjoy life, enjoy each other and the relationship that we have. So I thought that it would be a good thing to like discuss, like, why does this happen? What are some of the reasons? I mean, there probably could be a lot, or maybe just one foundational one, but then a lot of things, fall under that or whatever. Or also, how can you prevent it from happening? Like, is it something you could do? Is it something you and your partner can do to prevent it, if it is preventable? Sometimes it is time to just, go your separate ways or whatever. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I want to discuss. And so I guess we'll just dive right into it. One of the reasons that I was thinking was because I'm a big person on communication or whatever. I would like to have, communication with my partner and know that we're on the same page. So I think communication plays a lot into this, what a lack of it when one person thinks the relationship is going one way and the other it doesn't or whatever, and they haven't come together and voice their concerns, because you could be thinking everything is okay. I'm like, I have no problems or whatever, but the other person has a problem with, the way you chew food, or whatever it is. Like, it's getting on my nerves or whatever.
Some of the little things
things
that might drive you crazy.
Yeah. And it could be it could be big things as well. But yeah, some of the little things, it's like you just getting on my nerves or whatever. And maybe, if the communication was there, we could discuss that. And then, I might not be able to change the way I chew my food, we use that example, but I can be more, observant of when I'm maybe making noise, I guess, with my food or whatever. Mhm. And then another one I have is like, like I said, you have a routine. You're just complacent. You're just doing the same things, it's like robotic almost, or whatever. And it may be time to maybe think about, doing other things in a relationship, uh, and whatever that may be. You guys may need to discuss things that you have been interested in doing and haven't just yet, kind of like a bucket list or whatever, places you haven't gone or restaurants you haven't tried, just do some stuff out of the, ordinary, unresolved conflicts as well. Like we could have had a disagreement the other day on, who time was it to make the bed or whatever. And it's just lingering because we never did get it resolved. So there could be some reasons why, people, it starts to dwindle the relationship. And like I said, these are very little things, but if they're left undiscussed or left unapproached or whatever, they just begin to, swell and grow and maybe even, explode, and then we have a big mess. Yeah.
Sometimes I think with like people who have OCD,
Mhm.
the little things that wouldn't bother, most people, just like just take for instance, making the bed, right?
Mhm.
That wouldn't bother most people,
Right.
even if you don't make the bed at all, or whatever, because I don't always make the bed. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? I usually don't make the bed unless people are coming over. Otherwise, it's just. But just say if somebody had OCD, then that could be an issue, and you're in a relationship with them or just dating them. That could be that's what we would, that's what, I would just.
Oh, they're just a plain person. They just like the bed being made.
And then, but you see where that can be an issue, where that can be a big issue to them, where it could be like a little issue to you.
Mhm.
And it's like those little bitty issues that we may consider like little.
Mhm.
And you take somebody who has like, just for instance, like I say, OCD,
Right.
then that would be a big issue for them because everything has to be in place, where
Mhm.
everything has a place and a purpose, and it has to be this way or that way,
Right.
or structured or whatever. And
Right.
if you go out, and somebody, like somebody who doesn't have OCD, that can cause a problem for them, but it also can cause a problem for the person who has the OCD. The person who doesn't have it doesn't see it as a issue, but the one who does. And those are just little things, and then they can compound into bigger things too. You can take just anything, and it's like, how do you in a relationship, how do you resolve those what we consider little things, or whatever.
Yeah.
And then so basically, like, so what is a relationship? What is a thriving relationship? What would you consider like a thriving relationship for you, or just other people you've seen their relationships, and we might think they're successful or something.
You asking me that?
Yeah.
I didn't know if you just put it out. Well, every relationship is going to be different. Every relationship is going to be different. So it just depends on what works for the people. So it's communication. Like I said, that's the first thing I think needs to be. And, it needs to be a relationship where we can speak about things openly, and we can trust each other, and always know that you can come to me. I'm not gonna neglect you, even though there may be some misunderstanding. I want to talk so we can get clarity, so we can move on from this or whatever. So basically, just communication or whatever. But and I do want to say, if you take the OCD out of it, people right, yeah, but like you don't have to, just because you like to have to be clean, don't mean you have OCD or whatever. So yeah,
that's true.
And then I think also emotional or physical distance. Sometimes you emotionally kind of grow apart, think, oh my God, that's so hard because I would never know this unless you discuss it. Like you have to tell me this. Like this has to be because I can't read your mind. I can't. I mean, I can. Sometimes you can see emotions because
Body language,
they make you emotions. You know, the word motion is in there. It's the way you're moving. I can see it sometimes, but sometimes for me, I like clarity, and I'm gonna try not to call a thing before it is a thing. I'd rather you just tell me than me be like, well, why are you acting like this? Or you act like this because I don't want to assume. I'd rather you tell me this. So when there's emotional distance, there definitely has to be a discussion or whatever. But then there's also physical distance, like I may have gotten a new job or whatever, or there may be some family issues or whatever that I have to tend to that may, that's not in our home, but it's over, in my family's home or whatever. That, I mean, I can, that's probably been discussed or whatever, but how does the person, how they hearing it, how they related to it, I just because I'm tending to my family or whatever, or I have a new job or whatever, that doesn't take the place of you. And I think sometimes if you don't have an understanding of that, sometimes a partner can think that this new change in your life somehow, is because of them, or you don't have time for me anymore because of this or because of that or whatever. And I mean, life changes. There's gonna be things that are gonna change in my life. There's gonna be promotions. There's gonna be, new locations or whatever. So it's not gonna stay the same. So, you can't expect for the relationship to just stay, just on that, stagnant or just on that same level. I think we grow, we grow together or whatever. So and like
change. You have to grow
you
and
have
evolve
to.
and change. You don't want to stagnate relationship. You want to
Mhm. And then I have unmet needs. A partner may feel like, the need that I'm needing right now, you're not meeting it or whatever. And a lot of times, I don't think people are honest with their partners to discuss things like that. They rather just go out and find it somewhere else, or or let it just go unmet, or try to figure out something else or whatever. But I think that these are things that can lead a person dissatisfied and feeling like I'm drifting away from you because I have this need and you're not meeting it. But at the same time, I would ask, does your partner know that you have that need that needs to be met? It might be a surprise to them or whatever. So that's another reason why relationships seem to drift off as well. And then like this kind of goes with the what we said before, just the personal growth or change. People are going to evolve, they're going to grow or whatever. Values are going to change or whatever. So if the person is not exactly where you are on certain things or whatever, they may feel like we're drifting apart, or something's different or whatever. You're here, but you're not present with me. Like I don't feel you here. I don't sense that you're here. You're somewhere else or whatever. It's because I've grown. It's because I'm changing. I'm evolving or whatever. So I think that needs to be communicated in the relationship as well. But those are 6 of the things that I was looking at that I thought causes people to kind of drift away or whatever as a relationship goes.
So, so I have here, what is a thriving relationship? What can go wrong? How do we fix it? Or should we? So I guess when you look around at, relationships that we, maybe assume we're thriving, you got appreciation, gratitude for the little things. So, everything doesn't have to be, on a grand scale, you don't, just be appreciative, whatever, and compliment, like compliment the little things or notice sometimes the little things, uh, you know, um, and then, yeah, I got appreciation, gratitude, for the little things. I don't think everybody's going to always be on the same page with each other. There's times when you are, but there's times when you're not. But you have admiration and see the otherness of your partner.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes when you're in relationships, you don't see the, sometimes, like for instance, if I take what you said about, like you just say you got a new job or something. Or your job might be, where you work all day or something and stuff, like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then your partner maybe would have to, if they see that or whatever, and then they can appreciate that, not that you work so much and you're not spending time with them.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think that you also have to regardless of if you're going to be in a relationship, you still have to make the time for the other person, even if your schedule in life is so busy,
Mm-hmm.
but even if it might not be every day or something, like that, even if, you can still show some type of appreciation every day,
Mm-hmm.
or you maybe compliment, or something, or show some type of admiration or something, whatever was happening in that person's life that day. You can share your own accomplishments or share your own day or whatever, and hopefully that person, can see your otherness also,
Mm-hmm.
see your difference, because we're not all alike. We're
Right.
not the same. So we do all have different ways we think, different ways we act or whatever. And we have to see that, we also have to see that in the other person. They don't have to be just like us,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't have to do the things the way we want it done or the way we do it or whatever. I mean, there's some things you do got to work together on,
Right.
for it to work or something. But I don't think that in my own opinion, I don't think that just because the other person is, maybe not there where you are, or where you want them to be or something, like that,
Mm-hmm.
you have to appreciate where they are at that time in that moment or whatever, as long as it's nothing that's harmful.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But then there's, you got to have confidence, you thrive in relationships and stuff, like that. Usually if both of them are confident in themselves, or whatever, then a lot of times the relationship, can thrive that way too, because when you have confidence about yourself, you feel good about yourself, or whatever, or you have confidence in them, you're feeling good about them. And then, and that can reflect out of you sometimes in what you say, or in your body language of how you display it towards them, or whatever. You got to make sure that you matter to each other.
Right.
If you're in a relationship and then it starts going, if it's, I guess if it's going downhill or something, and then you don't feel valued, or you don't feel noticed, or like you matter anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So I think when you're in a relationship, you should always kind of make your partner, even when you're feeling down or not up to par that day, just kind of if you can make your partner feel valued, and hopefully if they matter to you, it should show.
Right.
That should show if that person matters to you.
Mm-hmm.
You can kind of start seeing when you don't matter. And then so yeah, I had just different little things here. What.
So those were some of the things some of the reasons why people fall out of love. And then I have like, how do you bring up the issue? When so now you see there is a problem. It's either one of these things, either we got in some routine, we have lack of communication, we have unresolved conflicts, distance, unmet needs, or personal growth. So now that I know that we have an issue, how do I come to my partner and address this or whatever? I think first, since y'all have been together, for a while, I'm assuming or whatever, you kind of know, how this person is different parts of the day. So you kind of know what time to bring this on. You don't want to bring it on at a time where, this is the time where they usually play video games or whatever, because then that's just going to add more. You bring the issue and then you're also taking away my personal playtime or whatever. So kind of, try to choose the right time when to bring this up or whatever. And I would say not to go in blaming them. There's a such thing as using like I statements or whatever, or it's like, I been feeling like, or and not blaming them or whatever.
You did
exactly.
This, you said that, you were this, or the reason why this happens is because
right.
If you just constantly say instead of, like I.
Because it's like you're accusing them. If you got you're accusing them. So you want to keep the I statements in there. And then you want to emphasize.
Unless you need to accuse them.
Yeah.
It just depends. But
and then you need to emphasize. Yeah. And then emphasize what it is that you would like to see, or whatever. Make a, have a plan or whatever. And just be open to the way they feel, So that would be, my advice on how to bring, like, when that there is the issue, okay, these are the things I want to make sure gets covered. And then just let it talk itself out, and maybe somewhere in there, you guys come on common ground where we can move from this or whatever, and maybe start fresh. And this may make the love even stronger, because we can see that we were in a storm, we talked about it, we worked it out, and now we're on the other side of it or whatever. So yeah, and like I said, just be open to their perspective, because we all have our perspectives, like now the way we perceive things. And just because they did whatever it is that kind of disturbed you in whatever kind of way, they probably didn't even mean it in the way that you are perceiving it or whatever. So just listen.
I think sometimes it's how you present it, how you communicate. So because let's go back to the communication. So you said communication is the key. What if you get into a relationship with somebody and then they really are not a good communicator, or they're not good at communicating or expressing their feelings, or expressing them in a even tone, or in a proper, what's considered a proper manner, because everybody is not a good communicator. And so
that's what I think maybe a counselor or a therapist should be involved, because basically all you're doing is sharing your thoughts. Mm-hmm. You're sharing your thoughts, you're sharing your emotions, you're sharing your experiences or whatever. And if that is, and I guess sometimes that is hard for some people, because they're like, I feel it, but I don't know how to put it in words or whatever. Maybe that is a time where we need to have a third party, like a counselor or therapist, come in.
Yeah, and with the communication, it's all how you communicate. Because if you go at your your partner, or even just anybody, when you start going at them like you're attacking them, or you say something that's really under your breath, communicating with them that way, or taking a shot or a dig at them, and some people disguise it as a joke, like I was just kidding or whatever. But really, we know that when people do stuff like that in that little joking manner, it's really what they really mean most of the time anyway. But with the communication, it depends on how you communicate, because sometimes both people in the relationship are not good communicators,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes one is and one isn't. And like you say, sometimes having a counselor or a therapist or something, that can help, help you communicate, as the go between two, where you can help communicate if it's that bad, or whatever. But so I have, some stuff that could go wrong is indifference, contempt, or you're rude to your partner. Everything is more important than your partner. Violence, and I have not necessarily physical, because it can be emotional violence. Neglect, pays more attention to social media than your partner. Blaming partner instead of owning your own shit, gives off the impression that you are replaceable. Doing just the bare minimum just to get by, and has the do not bother me mentality. And a lot of times when you start off in relationships, that's not there. None of that is there, because they, you're in the getting to know each other phase and stuff when you're dating, and sometimes you'll put forth your best, self or whatever. And then, and then some people have that mentality also. They'll do whatever they can to get you into a relationship, and then once you're in a relationship, it's like, I got you now, so now I can be, now I'm gonna be myself. And then that's when some of this stuff comes out, blaming your partner instead of owning your own shit, stuff that you do yourself, and that you get angry with, and then you take that out on your partner,
right?
And it's something that you've done, and I understand that you can have a bad day or something can go wrong, and stuff, like that. But, and you can be upset or mad or whatever too, but it depends on how you deal with that with your partner, and if you take that out on your partner in a very derogatory, negative way, then your partner's going to take, they're going to feel that and take that too, and you can still be upset and angry and stuff, like that, still not be harsh, right, and take that out of your partner. And then, you have neglect, pays more attention to social media than your partner. A lot of times, as we're getting into these relationships and stuff now, with social media and everything, like that, your partner, and I'm only going off of my own experience, they can be constantly, into the social medias, looking in there for the likes and the loves and seeing what people are saying, scrolling through, and then, and that's fine. But if it's a constant thing, all day long, or when you're around each other and stuff, like that, and you can't really have any quality time, even though y'all sitting there right next to each other, and but they're scrolling through them, and you really can't even talk or have a conversation or watch a TV program together, right, and discuss it, or or discuss different stuff that has happened throughout the day, because they're constantly addicted to their social media. Right. And like I say, it's fine, we all have little diddles and daddles that we do and stuff, like that. But I think when it becomes an addiction where you pay more attention to that, and that's more important than where you can find some quality time with your partner. Because just because you're sitting in the same house, or sitting next to each other and laying next to each other in the bed or the couch, and stuff, like that, and then all you're doing is just scrolling, and then they're just sitting there, with their thoughts or something, like that. So I think that can that can play a part. I think it is playing a part in some of what's happening in the relationships today. Yeah. It didn't play a part back then. There were other things that right, that could play a part, but if we didn't have social media back then, and then, but now it seems to be an issue. And it's and when I say that, I'm going off my own experience, but I'm also going off of what I've heard other people saying about their relationships to them, being in these relationships, and then their partners, all they do is it's either that or play video games. You brought up video games, like they could be on women. These women have a hard problem, with their husbands or boyfriends when they're on these Xbox and PlayStation, and all that type of stuff. Yeah. And they'll be on there, they'll come home from work and they'll hop on there, but some people need their downtime. Yeah. But then the wife might, just say the wife or It don't have to be a wife. It could be a man too. You could be a couple, two men together, two or two women or whatever, and then, you're running around doing everything, trying to, feed the kids or trying to get stuff done or whatever. They're playing them games all the way into the night, they haven't, and then by the time 9, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at nighttime, y'all haven't had any quality time or anything like that because you've been up there on that game. And the same thing can be for the social media. You just sit there and scroll and stuff, like that. And this person done every, just done, whatever. They may have worked all day too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They may have needed some comfort or some, or just a little, how you doing, babe? Or something. And that you're fixated on other things.
Right.
And then, I have here, it gives off the impression that you're replaceable, and that can go on in the relationship too, when they start ignoring you, or whatever, or they're paying more attention to everything else, to the exterior surroundings and everything else instead of paying any attention. Now, I understand that you can't, you don't want to be smothered, or whatever. And you can't, nobody can spend all the time and stuff together, but you still got to make some time. Even if you can do a little bit every day, or maybe just maybe a couple of times a week, because you might be so busy during or whatever. But on the days when you can give, do something, do something with your partner. Figure out something to do, or have a nice conversation, sit down and relax with each other or something. And but when you start giving that impression, like the grass is all, greener on the other side. And a lot of that comes in when you start, like when people get stagnant in a relationship. And then, and I say, like with this social media and stuff, like that, they're scrolling through there, and they're on Facebook, IG, all of these different, dating apps and stuff, even though they're in relationships with you, but they're scrolling through there looking at, these Instagram models and all the stuff that people are posting and stuff. And then they think, they'll get to dreaming or whatever they do, whatever, they'll get in there and start thinking that that's better than what they have. And then a lot of times, and they quite a bit has been happening where they're doing this and they're actually going into this emotional cheating part, where they're on here communicating with these people through these social media apps stuff, even though you have a partner here and you're not communicating with them, but you're communicating with these people you don't know, going into some fantasy in your head or whatever. And then some of them have actually, they do that and they go out and actually meet these people too and physically cheat. But this emotionally cheating and stuff, like that's going on, putting these people more important than your relationship and your partner. Because you can find the time, to me, you can find the time to scroll. You know what I'm saying? If you can find the time to scroll or find the time to play on those video games for hours and hours and stuff like that, you can find some time for your partner, and they should be able to find time for you too, even if you do have kids, and your life is busy. You know what I'm saying?
I think a lot of people do that innocently. Like you're on your phone, you're used to your phone, you have your phone or whatever, and you're just scrolling. That's why I think, it needs to be communicated that, hey, I'm over here, let's do something together. Let's tell me how your day was, get them to talking, and it doesn't have to be, I've been at work all day, now I'm ready to like just scroll or whatever. Talk to me, share with me how your day was, did you see anything interesting? Just have conversation. Like we forgot, it's like we've forgotten how to communicate with each other or whatever. The first thing that comes on is the TV, or we're going to the computer or whatever. It's like, no, let's get back to the basics. And the basics is communicating with each other. Let me know, how you feel, and I'll let you know how I feel, or, whatever it is, whatever's on your mind, your thoughts, your, whatever your day was, like share that with me. I want to know how your day was or whatever. Spend quite, and these go into like, I guess, strategies you can use to like when you notice that there is a drop in the relationship, like, it seems to be withering away. Get back to communicating, also spending time together, schedule some date nights, rediscover what it was that brought you guys together. Like, how did we fall in love the first time? Let's have a picnic, or let's go to a movie. Let's travel, let's do some things like that. Let's engage, maybe even play a sport with each other, or join a team or something like that. Let's get back to spending time together and not just you're on a video game, or I'm in the kitchen doing this or whatever.
I work too, I work too much or whatever. Or
Right.
I have to, sometimes in relationships, it's that I have to do this mentality.
Right.
When in all actuality, you don't have to do that. Only thing we have to do is if we're born and then we have to die, or whatever. But I think you can always, no matter how busy your schedule is, or whatever's going on in your life, if you want to be in a relationship,
right,
and you want a successful relationship,
right,
you have to make that time for your partner.
You do. You have to prioritize how you're going to spend your time, and you can do that. It's not all work, And I think another thing is to express appreciation. That's another thing. If you notice that things are kind of dying off, tell your partner, hey, I thank you for making dinner, or bringing dinner home, compliment them, hey, I like the outfit you have on. That's really cute. You look really good in that, bring that positivity back, bring that, that emotional part of the relationship. Because sometimes we get so used to each other that we forget that we are humans, and we like for people to, compliment us and express gratitude, when we do something. Because I could have just been selfish and just bought lunch for me or dinner for me, I thought about the household or whatever. So, start doing that more, and whether they do it or not, it takes the one person to do it. And maybe the other person hopefully will get the happen and be like, okay, well, let me compliment, and it just becomes a thing. And then you're not even thinking about it anymore. It just comes naturally now. We're just expressing our appreciation and gratitude towards each other. Mm-hmm. And then I would say also, maybe try new things, if you see that it's falling apart or breaking down or whatever, try new things. Maybe take a cooking class together, or a new hobby, or I don't know. I remember when me and one of my exes, we took a boxing class together. That was time though. We were both there. We made the time in our schedules to do this activity together. And we were always, most of the time we were each other's partners or whatever. So we were right there face to face or whatever. Sometimes you have to choose another partner or whatever. But hey, we were there, but yeah, there's so much you can do. If there's any lingering issues, I would say go ahead and resolve those. If there's forgiveness that needs to take place, forgive. If there's a compromise that needs to be done, then do that. Whatever it takes to move forward, to bring us back at least close to where we are, or even better than what we are. Because maybe that was the thing that was missing. I didn't know that you felt this way, or I didn't know that when I did this made you feel this way, or whatever. So, and like we said, prioritize, each other. Sometimes it's just touch, Sometimes it's just, sometimes a person just needs to know that, you can just be watching TV and maybe it's
just a compliment.
We said that. And
as long as it's genuine.
Yeah. I don't like big compliments. Maybe they just need you to hold their hand or hug, or cuddle or whatever. Yeah. Sometimes it's physical. Yes. Because sometimes you've gotten disconnected. And maybe that connects you. Because that's a love language as well. That's one of mine, physical touch or whatever. And then the last one I just have, like, personal growth. Like if you feel like your partner is growing or whatever, and you feel left behind, let's discuss it. Let's talk about it, because maybe you can go with me, if you're interested in this, or maybe I can get you to know and realize that just because I'm going here or whatever doesn't mean I'm leaving you.
Right.
I'm not leaving you.
That's a good point.
And sometimes people just need that reassurance. Right. And sometimes if you can just reassure a person that, hey, I'm here. I'm in this for the long run. It may look different at this stage we are, and I may have to spend a little bit more time over here or whatever. But I promise you, I'm doing it for us. But I'm also recognizing that you're here with me. I haven't left you. I'm still here with you.
Maybe find a way that they can be included in that too, where they can help in your growth, or help in their growth.
Yeah.
And I think that's good there. I think the problem comes in is like when, just say you have growth or you're at a certain level, and if you get with somebody who's too insecure or whatever and stuff, your growth can threaten them. And it should. You all should be. Well, everybody's not going to grow at the same level, but right. Everybody should be growing and evolving throughout your whole life, and through your relationship should always be right. Growing and evolving. And there's always going to be, sometimes one is going to always, be a little here, and then maybe later on and whatever, then the other one to be here, and you might be down here or whatever. And that's where you hold each other up and support each other, and then so with the growth, sometimes if that person, they may see that as, it may your growth might make them feel less than, it should, but it might make them feel less than, or whatever. Or sometimes, your success or whatever you have or whatever, it can make them feel inferior. Inferior. And it really shouldn't, what right. I'm saying? But it does happen in a lot of relationships. And then, I guess maybe, maybe with the communication, that's a good one, is the communication. If you're a good communicator, and you have good communication, y'all can talk that out, so your partner doesn't, you can't fix that in them, whatever, but you can try to make them feel a little bit more secure.
Right.
But you can't fix that if that's their feeling, right. Or whatever. That's something that they have to kind of, going to have to kind of fix or try to deal with something like that, but I would, it's not nothing where you would just, destroy your relationship and stuff over. That's worth talking and stuff about.
Yeah.
So, and then but I have here, I got this from Matthew Hussey, or whatever, because he was discussing the 4 levels of importance in a relationship. And he says admiration, mutual attraction, commitment, and compatibility. And he was saying, without those in the relationship, you're not going to have a successful, you're not going to have a successful relationship anyway. Now, people can get in a relationship and they can stay together forever. You know what I'm saying? Or be in a long-term relationship. But he was saying, like, without those, though, those other little building blocks, and pieces of the puzzle, right, start breaking down, and then even though you might stay forever in that relationship, you're probably not going to be happy, right, or whatever, or you're just sliding by, you're just in it or whatever. And I thought that was pretty good, like admiration. You have to have admiration for each other. And in the beginning, when you meet somebody, you do, you probably admire these qualities about them and stuff. A lot of times that's what draws us to people, or sometimes that's what draws them to you, is what they see. Oh, that quality, or this, they like this in you, or this or that.
Right.
But then sometimes later on, though, that can also be what tears your relationship apart. Sometimes what drew you together, the thing that drew you together, could be the same thing that tears the relationship apart, especially if jealousy and envy, or the person has self-loathing or something about themselves that can eventually tear it apart. But I think, in the beginning, we have that admiration for each other. We admire that person's accomplishments and, where they're at or what they're doing or how they're coming up and stuff, like that. And then, it says admiration, a feeling of wonder, respect, pleasure, or approval. And we usually have that in when you first meet somebody, and when you first get into a relationship, that's there. Hopefully, if that can continue throughout the relationship, that then you're building a block, to help that relationship. You got mutual attraction. Well, that's usually what draws us to each other in the beginning.
Right.
Also, mutual attraction. We might look at somebody and be like, oh, they're attractive. Or sometimes it's not even physical. Like your look. Sometimes it can be something you said or something that you did. That that sparked something in somebody. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But like the mutual, what drew us to each other, what attracted us to each other, and is that still there while we're in this relationship? If we're still in this, we're in this relationship and it's been going for a while and it seems long term. Do we still have that mutual attraction to each other?
Right.
Or it's just like you're just not if I go off of physical and just say, wait, because the person may have gained weight or lost weight, or they're getting older and they may not look the way that you looked when you first met them. Well, in a relationship, you evolve with that person, so hopefully they're always going to be attractive to you.
Right.
It's if I'm talking about the physical, and then and then commitment. Commitment. Got compatibility. The degree to which two people are well suited for each other. It's an important factor considered when starting a relationship. It can help predict how well you'll be able to navigate challenges, together. And that is, because some people get in relationships and they're not compatible at all. Some people just want to be in a relationship.
Right.
They have to be. Some people aren't happy unless they're in a relationship. And that says more about themselves than it does about the other person or whatever. But and they're not even. You get into a relationship and then you don't have anything in common. Really, you might have one or two things or whatever, and then sometimes those one or two things is enough. You know what I'm saying? But you get into these relationships and then because of the physical, sometimes or sometimes because of the sex or the physical or whatever. But once you get in there, you realize well, we're really not compatible. We don't do anything together.
Right.
We don't even have some of the same things that that we like or dislike, or whatever. So I think if that compatibility is not there and you get into the relationship, that's going to be something that's going to probably eventually your relationship is probably going to end, or you're just going to just suffer through it or whatever. But you have to have that compatibility, and then you got to have you got to be committed to the relationship. Don't get into a relationship. If you're dating somebody, if you're dating somebody, and then know why you want to get into an actual relationship with them. Because I think when you get into a relationship, even though they're a lot of times they're turning out where they're not long term, what I mean. But in our minds, I think we want them to be long term. We want the commitment, and I think what's happening, which has probably always been happening, but we get into the relationship and then you both want that commitment, but then you get in there and then either one or both is not holding up to the commitment, that y'all got into the relationship for. And I think we go back to the communication of what when you brought up communication, when you're dating, and then when you talk about this stuff while you're dating,
right?
And then when so because if it seems like you're moving towards a relationship or you might want to get into a relationship, that's when you start talking about all of this stuff before you get into that relationship. What the commitment's going to be. Are we going to be monogamous? Are we going to be open? Or what other stuff is going to be involved in this commitment? And then you all have to. I think you all have to come to that agreement. But don't say you want a commitment and you want a monogamous relationship when you really know that you're not capable of being in a monogamous relationship. And that's okay if you're not. You just don't need to get into the relationship with that person who is committed, because I know a lot of people can't be monogamous, but there are people out there who can be monogamous, and you shouldn't get into a relationship with somebody, get into a committed relationship with somebody who is monogamous when you know that you cannot be,
Right.
and you know that you haven't been in any of your other ones, because that person is still not going to be the one to make you be monogamous. And it's just not monogamy. There's other things that's involved in commitment and stuff, like that, and stuff.
First of all, are they ready?
Right.
Like, are you ready to even be in a relationship? That's the first thing.
But a lot of people think that they are. Like, a lot of people you meet, most people we do meet, like guys that we meet, I don't know about you, but most guys that you meet, they want to be they say they want to be in a relationship. They think they're ready to be in a relationship, but a lot of times their trauma is too great for them to even be in a relationship with you. Like it may work for somebody else,
And that's where the communication comes in. Like, we have to have the communication, and I need to understand, your mindset. Like, what do you want? What does commitment look like to you? What does a relationship look like to you? What does intimacy look like to you? I need to know this or whatever. We need to clarify, our boundaries, our expectations. Like, what are you looking for? Are you want a relationship where it's committed and it's just with us? Or do you want a relationship where you can be free, and just do whatever, you just want someone on the side, or do you want it to be, more stable, more committed, and be honest, when we have these conversations, just be honest, tell the truth. I mean, I can't do anything to you, but to just say, no, I'm not ready to have this in my life or not, or whatever. And we go from there. It ain't like I can put you in jail or I have a heaven or hell to put, I just be honest. There's no reason to lie or to, have half truths or whatever. There's no reason. Just be honest, because if this is something you really want, then let's make it work. Let's make it happen. And then also, if you have certain needs and desires, let's to talk about that in the beginning, so we don't, have to deal with those hurdles when we get there. If you're aware of those, I mean, most people, you kind of know, what, how you want this in the morning, how, you want this when you get home. You kind of know what type of relationship, you kind of already picture this in your mind of what you want, and you kind of already know yourself enough to say, you know what, I like when a person does this, or I like when a person does that. So go ahead and address that now, so I can already know how I can love you, and how I can show affection to you that will, profit you the most or whatever. And then if you're not ready for a relationship, you need to let me know, if you're willing to commit to this, or we can just say bye. Go ahead and just be honest about that. Communicate your feelings honestly. And I think sometimes people, they say they're ready, but at the same time,
they think you're the one.
They
think you're the one.
They say they're ready, but at the same time, they still want to like see what's going on out there or whatever. And then that's what you're looking for. Then you just have to be honest and tell people, that's what I want.
Date. Date. Let's date and not get into a relationship. Let's date, and then if it doesn't work for the other person wants more or whatever, then you need to separate or whatever, instead of getting into a relationship where then it's going to cause trauma and hurt. Pain.
Because some people want open relationships.
If
they want them, and if you want that, then you get with somebody that's like that wants that. It has to be mutual. Right. And it can't be like, I want commitment, but then you want this. No, we need to
discuss.
It needs to be mutual. And then also, I think just whatever you do, be in a relationship where you are most emotionally and physically okay. Like, I don't want a partner that is going to, cause me harm, cause me mental health issues, or my physical safety is in danger. So if you're not ready to be in a relationship where you can actually, be honest on how you feel, treat me in a way that the way I should be, in a respectful, way, in a respectful manner, and not only talk the talk, but actually walk the walk. Like your actions actually show me that you're really in this. You're not harming me. You're, prioritizing me or whatever. Then if you're not there, then yeah, I don't think you're ready. And I think sometimes relationships fall, and they fall by the wayside because you thought you were ready, but then you really were not. And so now we have all these issues or whatever. So communication, you guys, in the beginning of the relationship, beginning of the relationship that you're embarking on having, have these conversations, get to know, and yeah, they can tell you whatever, but still, at least you've done your due diligence, and however it works out, it works out. But at least you can say, well, I asked you this, and we discussed this or whatever, because people can switch up on you. They can do whatever they want to do, but hopefully you find that person that is ready and that does want a committed relationship or whatever.
Yeah, I think when people are when they're looking for relationships, a lot of times they're looking for the perfect person. They're looking for perfection and stuff. And we've talked about this before in some of our other stuff. Myself personally, I don't believe in perfection. I don't believe in perfection in your personal life. I don't believe in perfection in your work life, and or anywhere. I believe that you can do the best that you can.
Mm-hmm.
The best that you can give. But I don't believe that that you can attain perfection, and that in perfection, when people are looking for perfection and they want you to, everything has to be this way or whatever, or be perfect. You're in a relationship and stuff like that. They're just doomed to fail because nobody can live up to that.
Right.
This has to be this way, and a lot of times people, if in the relationship, and if one is looking for perfection, then that person is the one who is, making the rules, and they're the ones who are calling the shots, and then you have to live up to that.
Mm-hmm.
And then even with the communication, that can break down because nobody can live up to those high standards.
Mm-hmm.
And and that's a hard fall. That's just like when people put you up on a pedestal that you cannot live up to. They don't see you as human. They see you as something else. And then when you disappoint them or something happens,
mm-hmm.
Whatever, or something doesn't go the way that they wanted it or whatever,
mm-hmm.
then all of a sudden, that fall is hard, and then they start treating you bad and stuff,
mm-hmm.
Like that. And then if you get with somebody and they are looking for perfection, eventually they're going to start treating you bad anyway in the relationship because you're not always going to be able to meet that need of perfection and stuff,
right.
Like that. And then I said perfection, and perfection is, they mask, what is that? Oh, that political stuff. Come on them. Perfection and perfectionists mask insecurities and low self-esteem and react poorly to any types of criticisms and failure. And that's where the communication and stuff come in too. Mm-hmm. So, if you get with certain type of people that are not really made for you and you're not made for them, mm-hmm. And if you're trying to live up to their perfections,
mm-hmm.
It's, and you say something to, and if you just say something to them, they think you're criticizing them,
mm-hmm.
Or you ask them a question or do anything, like that. They think you're criticizing them,
right.
Or whatever. So even with the communication, sometimes it's not going to even work,
Yeah.
But it still needs to be there. I think you always need to try to communicate,
mm-hmm.
Or whatever. You'll start eventually seeing whether you can communicate with that person or not. And sometimes, it might be so bad that that might not be the relationship for you. Not saying that you need to leave leave a relationship because the communication is poor, because there might be a whole bunch of other attributes and stuff that are great or good
mm-hmm.
or whatever. And then, you can sometimes figure out ways to work around the poor communication,
mm-hmm.
so that you can work with, they can work with you and you can work with them. But sometimes it may be too great where, you can't.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And then, and just like with perfection, it's like you're holding you're actually with me, what had happened to me before too, though, is, they would hold me to a higher standard that they don't hold themselves to, and they want me to be this or, or so and so, but that's not them themselves, and so it's almost like a double standard. Well, it is a double standard, I have to be this, but you get to do this or whatever. It's the same thing when it comes to monogamy in a relationship. They don't want you, they say they want monogamy, or whatever, but they don't want you to be, they want you to be monogamous, but then they still want to go out and be able to do what they do,
in the streets.
Yeah, whatever. But then they don't want you to do it though. So that's another double standard. Not saying that would end a person's relationship, or whatever, but don't get into a monogamous relationship with somebody who is monogamous and has the capacity to be monogamous when you really don't have that capacity, and you're not going to be the one who, that person who you're with is not going to be the one to stop you from being unfaithful,
right,
if that's in you.
Right.
No matter how great you think they are.
Right.
Or whatever. But
yeah, I have some warning signs. And when I was going through this list, I was like, this is exactly what I went through. I was with one of my exes or whatever, and we met and we had a good relationship. It was, thriving. We were both supporting each other in our careers and everything. And then I think he hit a bad patch, and where, he lost his job and stuff like that. And he was staying with his mom, but then I moved out to North Dallas. I was like, why don't you come and stay with me or whatever? And so we moved in together, and it was like, I don't know. It just kind of changed because I don't think we were really ready for it or whatever. And then it was just the way he was moving. And I'll explain a little bit more. So the first thing I have is that, you have that emotional distance. Like, you're not even concerned about how my day was anymore. You're not concerned about how I feel. And I felt that. I would be at work because, like I said, he lost his job. He moved in with me. I'll be at work. I come home. And it's nothing. It's like, you don't even have dinner ready. At least you could do that. You're not doing nothing. At least have some food ready or whatever. But he was not interested in my feelings. He basically emotionally checked out, Then because of all that, to me, I lost physical attraction and affection. Like, he just didn't even look the same to me. I didn't even want to kiss anymore. I didn't want to hug. I didn't want to do any of that. The connection was just getting very, like, dry and weak. Like, it was breaking or whatever. And then the communication just seemed to, like, just disappear. Like, there was no more, like, conversations about our day, or conversations about a show that we watch, or a conversation about, something I did with my friends. We just went out, we went to the bar. No, it's like, you on your side, you on your side, and I'm on my side or whatever. And no more spending time together. It became less and less and less and less. Actually, he started spending time with this other dude and trying to tell me, oh, he just my friend. Okay. Well, okay. In a minute, you're going to be living with your friend because I'm about to kick you up out of here or whatever. So, yeah. And then just the impatience. I became very impatient because I felt like, are you even looking for a job? In that instance, in my situation, it was the job thing. But you can become impatient about a lot of things, whatever it is and bothering you. It's just because it irritates you more. You get annoyed by the things that they're doing. It's like, yeah, I'm totally checked out. So these are some of the warning signs. And then just the lack of effort. Like, no one's even putting the effort into this anymore. It's like, you're more attentive to your friends, and and I know family, yeah, I have no problem with that. But when I see that the effort that we used to have and how we used to come together and, just have a nice relationship and nice times together where we can laugh and joke and whatever, it's no more anymore. It's just disappeared. It's like we don't even have those moments anymore. So these were my warning signs that it was time to cut. It was time to go our separate ways. So when you start to see that the person is not even into it anymore and it's just less of what you guys were doing, then yeah, I would say, yeah, it's time to cut the cord. It's time to go.
So Jacquel, she says you can give your all and have great communication skill and still gaslight you, hurt people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's true. When they start getting into that, like when you're in these relationships, and they start really getting, every time you try to talk to them or you try to have open dialogue or communicate with them, and then they bark back at you, or they turn it on you like as if like you're attacking them or something,
mm-hmm.
or you take as far as gaslighting, that they take what you say and try to turn it on you like you're the problem or you're the one who's the issue. You know what I'm saying? That's bad. And a lot of times, we've talked about
it's not the communication, it's the gaslighting.
Well, but communication, gaslighting is a part of communicating. When they're gaslighting you and turning that back on you, they're communicating with you. They're just communicating with you in a negative, bad manner.
Right. So yeah, I don't mind the communication, but yeah, when you start gaslighting, then yeah, that's
right.
a problem.
And hurt people do hurt people. We get a lot of people now. I wish people would just, if you can just maybe get into therapy or something. There's even if you can't afford it, there's ways out there where they can get you into some type of therapy or something to help people deal with some of their trauma and their issues, because you bring that hurt into your dating experience.
Yeah.
You bring that hurt into your relationship experience. It doesn't matter whether it's from hurt from your childhood experiences, family, other relationships or your friendships and stuff, like that. When people don't deal with that hurt, then they end up bringing that into their relationships, and sometimes they don't intentionally mean to hurt you, or whatever, but they eventually are going to hurt you, and they hurt themselves that way too. But people do hurt people, whether it's intentional or unintentional. Sometimes hurt people hurt you intentionally. They know who they are. You got you get your narcissists and stuff, like that, who they intentionally are gonna go out here and hurt you, gaslight you, manipulate you, and all that type of stuff. Those type of relationships, people are in those for a long time too, some of them, and sometimes you really need to. A lot of those relationships, you just need to cut the cord and get out.
Yeah,
because you're really going to be the one who ends up hurt the most in those type of relationships. And there's a lot of gaslighting that goes on in narcissistic relationships. So, but yeah, Jacquel,
and I would say when you see them taking interest in other people, like he had the new friend, and I was like, well, you seem to be more interested in that person. So, it came to a point where we were at a indifference on friends and stuff like that. Cause I'm like, and I had never met the friend. Like, the friend would come and pick him up, but the friend would never come in and say, hey, this is my boyfriend, blah, blah, blah. Nothing like that. It was just, oh, he's here. I'm going out to the car. And I'm like, what the hell is this? So it was like, yeah. And then it came to the point where I no longer even have an interest in having sex with you. Like, I don't even want to do anything with you or whatever. So I knew that the relationship was actually going to nothing, to not, because there's no way of saving this if you're not going to appreciate home first.
Mhm.
You're not showing me any kind of love and attention, and like you said, admiration or whatever. You just focused on this guy and whatever, when your butt should be trying to find you a job or whatever. So it was just yeah. So yeah.
I think sometimes, like, if I just pull the job aspect in there too, sometimes that lowered when a person doesn't have a job, even though they shouldn't take that out on you, and they shouldn't get complacent and then don't go out and get another job or whatever. But sometimes, that does, especially on men, they take it a little bit different than women do. Women tend to be a little bit more stronger with that, where they can handle that if they lost their job. Somewhere they still can. A lot of them still maintain their self-esteem and who they are, or something like that. Sometimes with men, they think that the job is what makes them a man. That's part of being a man, is to have a job and to be a provider and stuff, like that. So that tends to hit them harder, where it lowers their self-esteem, and then they can end up taking that low self-esteem that they're feeling in those moments, and they take that out on their partner. Or whatever, because they're feeling bad about themselves. And then they also be thinking, like, what does the partner think about me because I don't have a job and I can't provide right now. So like with me, because that happened in my first relationship, or whatever, my partner, then that was my 8-year with, but when his job started laying them off and stuff, like that, and then, his part of the income wasn't coming in and stuff, like that. All I did, I just picked up the slack. Whatever. I didn't go in and make him feel bad or anything and stuff like that, because I know shit happens, and stuff, like that. Sometimes it can take a while to get another job, what I'm saying? And then, but I did notice that that it lowered his self-esteem, and he was constantly worrying about, I got to get another job, I got to do so and so. But he was worried about, but everybody can't be in the same position that I was in. Luckily, I was in a position where if he didn't have a job, what I'm saying, it wouldn't affect our household, what's it called? Your household finances and stuff, like that. But eventually he did get another job. But I'm not the type to go throw that up in a person's face, or to make you feel bad because you don't have this type of job or you lost your job. Because shit happens. We can all lose our job. We can, we can get sick and stuff, or anything can happen, And but that's just kind of like it's a blow to some people's ego, especially to men. It's a blow to their ego if they lose their job and they can't provide for their family, especially if they have kids and or have or sometimes if they're living above their means, their income and stuff anyway, that can be a blow, but it is what it is. But yeah, that does happen. And stuff, like that. You just got to be encouraging or whatever, and be supportive. And, like, babe, you eventually get a job, and stuff like that. But, I'm here, whatever. We're okay, stuff. And even if you're not okay, we'll eventually be okay. I know that sounds cliche, it sounds kind of fantasy, but that, that worked in my relationship, And then when he got his job back and stuff, but he knew I was supportive, and I never said anything about it.
Life is full of mountains and valleys, and you're gonna have your ups and your downs. However, you don't make the people in your life feel bad. You deal with you or whatever. But yeah, we're here to support you, and hopefully, you're doing something to change it or whatever, work through whatever you need to work through. But just to, go solid on your partner. Yeah, this is not gonna work.
So I remember, because you watched Insecure too. What we were just talking about. Remember that happened on Insecure, where Issa's boyfriend. You remember her boyfriend when he lost? I don't know if you remember that episode where he lost his job, and then he was just laying around on the couch eating cereal and stuff. Like and then that's when Issa went out and actually cheated or something and stuff. That still doesn't give you the right to go out and cheat on somebody because of stuff, like that. If you're in a committed relationship, there was other stuff going on that made her go do that anyway. And whatever. But yeah, he was just laying around feeling sorry for himself, or whatever. And she was a little encouraging, but she wasn't that much encouraging or whatever. But still, I see where you were talking about where he had got complacent. And then, but it was also a blow to his ego because he said it in the thing too,
Yeah.
or whatever. But I can see where what you're talking about, where that can happen and stuff. But then you get into here where with where she was talking about like the gaslighting, the communication and the gaslighting, where the person can be a good communicator and stuff too. But stonewalling falls into that communication too, with that gaslighting and stuff, because they reverse it on you, or whatever. But then they go into that stonewalling, where it says stonewalling is a communication behavior where someone shuts down, withdraws, and stops responding to another person. And then, so like when you were talking about losing the job and stuff, a lot of times that, they shut down, even though the stonewalling, they're doing this stonewalling, this is shit on purpose. You know what I'm saying? That's the on purpose thing. But but some people do shut down because of they've taken a blow to their ego, or, they feel shame or something, and they'll shut down, and withdraw or stop responding to you. And then if you can communicate good or whatever, you may be able to, bring them back where y'all can communicate and talk about this type of stuff or whatever, without it going into the stonewalling and giving you the silent treatment and stuff, like that. And like with stonewalling, it's like giving the silent treatment, avoiding eye contact, lack of responsiveness, pretending to be busy, dismissing or minimizing the other person's concerns, refusing to answer questions, walking away from discussions, and I've been in a relationship like that. You know what I mean? I have been in one of those,
and that's to me, even though it says communication, I guess it's nonverbal for the most part. And that's not good. I mean, that's not good, because communication is going to take both of you putting in your input or whatever. And I can't force it out of you. If you refuse to say anything, you want to shut down or whatever and not, try to work this out, then I mean, what can I do, or whatever. So yeah. But yeah, there was a time where he just would not communicate, he wouldn't talk or whatever, and I can't force you to talk or whatever. And evidently, whatever you didn't want to share with me, you must have shared with the other person or whatever. And maybe because the other person, I don't know, they babied you, they bought you this or bought you that, but we're in the household. I mean, I'm here. I'm gonna feed I'm gonna feed you. We're gonna feed each other or whatever. We're gonna make it happen or whatever. But I think, like you say, with guys, our thing has always been we're the providers. We should have a job, and if a man don't work, he don't eat. That's in the Bible, and all this kind of stuff. And so yeah, when we don't have that occupation, that career, somehow some of us equated to our whole existence, our whole manhood or whatever. And if your whole manhood or existence is in a job, oh my God, the job, you can have one today and not have one tomorrow. So it's like, so you're non-existent because you don't have a job or whatever. And I think, yeah, that's where he got. And then it was like, I don't want to have to ask you for anything. You shouldn't have to do that for me. Well, what kind of relationship is this if when you're down, I don't help you? And like if I'm down, you don't help me. We're not there for each other. You don't have to go outside and look for that. I'm right here. And it makes you think like, well, was it something I did to make the person think that I'm not here for them? Or, is there something I said, something I did or whatever? And, it could have been, I could have got to the point where it's like, now, Negro, you're not about to be in my house and I've been doing nothing. So maybe there was, it could, I don't know. I can't remember back then, but my thing is, you're my man. I want the best for you or whatever. But now if you consistently show me that you're not willing to go out there, then yeah, there is going to be some resentment or something that harbors or whatever, because it's like, what are you doing? Whatever. And if we got to that point, or whatever, then yeah, I can see you probably. Well, this person, you know, they believe in me. You know, you just come with all this stuff. I didn't believe in you. I don't see you doing nothing, and you're not communicating that with me. No, communication is the key. You can communicate all types of things, but it's like some of the most important things. It's like we kind of drop the ball or whatever, or situations where we don't feel comfortable or confident in, or, you know, I don't want to rub this person the wrong way. We kind of drop the ball or whatever. But those are the times when communication is really needed, because now I'm at the point you don't want to start fighting. Right, because now I'm at the point where I'm about to make a decision. And when I make this decision, I'm not coming off of it. Like, I'm a Capricorn, and when I'm done with you, I'm done. I'm done. I will forgive you to the point where, you know, I could be cordial, whatever. But if you reach that point with me, I'm done. I'm like, okay, you know, whatever.
No more discussion.
No more, because I've given you. So I've given you. I promise you, I've given you time and time and time and time. The opportunities have been there. They've been there morning, noon, night, and you have just neglected them all. So it's like, what else can I do? I can't.
So it's all about you?
No, it's about us. That's what the communication is for. But if you don't take the opportunity or whatever, so yeah. But
Okay.
yeah.
So
So then I have like, what if it's your age? What if because you are of a certain age that a person has, you know, decided that I don't want this anymore. They're drifting away. There are times, you know, because they were saying things like that, that they're in different life stages, you know, and sometimes it's harder for them to be in relationships with someone younger. I mean, one guy, he even talked about even dating another race, because he's like, I don't want to have to teach. He's like, I don't want to have to teach another person our culture.
Telling our story.
That's
The guy said it.
that's Again, that's where the show came from. So that's where I'm kind of getting all this. And that's why I was in the beginning.
I didn't hear you read Craig.
I did.
You did? Okay.
Rewind it. But yeah, they're like different. You can be in different life stages or whatever. Yeah, that's what when we talk about the show. I was like, remember, I was watching this show, whatever.
Yeah, I heard.
But
I
a
heard
lot
you say that I was watching somebody else's show, but I didn't hear you say that it was from Craig's show.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. That was a good show.
It was, and that's why. Yeah, I thought we had this discussion. But anyway, they were saying, you know, like I'm at different life stages. Like I'm. Some of them were maybe at retirement age or whatever, and the same things they wanted, you know, at a younger age is like I've accomplished that. I've dealt with all that. Now I'm at this age where I'm trying to, you know, just build the rest of my life, or just make sure, you know, I'm in a secure, stable, you know, that everything is just secure and stable going on for the rest of my life. Because now I'm in my 50s, my 60s, or whatever. But say I'm dating someone else, they might be in a different stage in life. Like they want to still go out and party and whatever, and do this and do that or whatever, you know. To that person that's in a relationship like that, I would say again, communication or whatever, letting them know that, hey, I'm here now. I mean, we can still do, you know, some of the things you like to do, but I'm not going to see it the same way because I'm older. I've lived, you know, So sometimes because you have different life experiences or whatever, or you're at a different stage or whatever, that can kind of cause people to, like, you know, break apart or whatever too, you know.
Yeah. So do you think we stay in relationships too long, even when we know the person is not the right one for us? I mean, because, you know, we've dated people, and then sometimes there's signals and signs that person really, you know, because we might be drawn to them because, like we just said earlier, because of the sex or because of the way they look or something, you know what I mean? But then or in the beginning, you know, they can be treating you really well. or something, and then you get into the relationship, and once you get into the relationship, and there's all type of dysfunction and trauma, that can't be dealt with or whatever, but we still stay in those relationships, for whatever reasons. Sometimes it's codependency and other things. Sometimes it's it's the fear of being alone or something, like that. Or you brought up age. Sometimes you might be older or something, and then they're younger or something. And maybe you may feel like no one's gonna want you at your age and stuff, like that. So and then you stay in the relationship even though you're being harmed, or it's harmful to you, or whatever. And then, so, I just like, do we stay in some of these relationships too long, even when we know the person is not the right one for us? Because once you get into a relationship, you kind of know when shit starts happening, or whatever. Not just because something starts happening doesn't mean that the relationship is bad or whatever, because there's stuff that happens in all relationships, and some stuff can be fixed, but some stuff can't be fixed. But, a lot of times, there's people who've been married for 40, 50 years and stuff, and they've been miserable throughout most of the relationship, and they stay in those relationships too long, or whatever, which I can't tell anybody how to do their relationship. I can't even give nobody no good advice on no relationships, and I try my best never to give people advice on relationships, because I can't even, I can't even be in my own, I guess. I don't know. As much as I try to, have a successful relationships, the two I had turned out not to, whatever. But anyway, but when we start realizing, when there's too many red flags, like I said, I can deal with a few red flags or whatever, depends on what they are. But when there's too many red flags, with the cheating, the constant lying, the manipulation and all that type of stuff, and then we still stay there, thinking that we can fix the relationship, or it's going to get better because the person gives us a day or two of some happiness or something, but then it goes back to the same, keeps reverting back to the same stuff happening over and over, but we still stay in those relationships, and anybody out there who's watching, I see the people out there who's, watching on this end. I can't see, the other end, but I can see the ones who are watching here. If y'all have any comments on this, chime in. If you want to come into the studio and, talk with us live here, I'll put the link back up. But if y'all have some comments, come in and comment on this stuff or whatever, because some of it I'm just going off of my own personal experiences, and then just some of the research and stuff that I have done on relationships and stuff like that. But I think we can get in these relationships and we can be miserable in them, and I think if you're miserable in it and you can't communicate, what I'm saying, then I think it's probably for your own health. You know what I mean? You probably need to get out of this relationship and deal with the trauma of the relationship breaking up.
Right.
Deal with the with the hurt, pain of it, and stuff. And it can be relationships when they break up, they are very painful, and stuff, like that. And some people deal with it in different ways and stuff, like that. Some people will use alcohol, drugs, different things to medicate themselves, marijuana, or what, they'll use different stuff to medicate themselves so they don't have to deal with the hurt and pain. But eventually you're going to have to deal with that if you want that type of hurt and pain to eventually subside and you can move on with your life, or whatever. But I got this from that guy, Matthew Hussey, too. It says, if someone lies to you every day, gaslights you every day, it's narcissistic. What difference does it make to say you love that person? You know what I mean? That person is going to eventually make you utterly miserable, and I do agree with that statement. I agree with what he said, and I heard the other context when I was watching him. I heard the other context of what he put it in, of why he said that. But it's true. We get into these relationships and they're really not made for us. And a lot of times we know that almost, sometimes from the beginning. Sometimes you don't, because if you get with the wrong person, they can be, they can be love bombing you from the beginning, and then you think you got the right person for you or whatever, and then you end up getting in a relationship, and then once they show themselves, you know what I mean, but then we still tend to stay because we think, we're trying to be fixers and stuff, and you can't fix people, what I mean?
Right.
But
They have to do the self-help or whatever themselves, especially when it's something they've been dealing with since childhood or whatever, or something, that inner voice that they can't escape. Because it's not me. I mean, I'm here to love you. I want to be in a relationship with you. So it's something that you're doing. I mean, it's something that's repeating, in your mind or whatever, that's causing you to feel this certain way. But yeah. But then on the age thing too, because I know a lot of our viewers are maybe, our age or whatever. I think a lot of people think that, because the difference of age, like, do you have the energy and the lifestyle to even keep up with a younger person or whatever? So you have to think about that when you're dating a younger person, like, am I going to be able to, actually do all the social activities or whatever? And it could be vice versa. The young person could be the one that's kind of like, that old soul or whatever, and don't want to get out and do stuff or whatever. But once you see that love is fading, I would definitely try to find activities that you both can do together. And if that still doesn't work, then, maybe it is time to move on. But I think that the age difference doesn't have to be a deal breaker. It doesn't have to be a deal breaker. And then, like, I think the older people, we tend to already have our future kind of planned out or whatever. And sometimes there may be some disagreement with the younger person. Again, some communication needs to be, there. And you would think that a younger person would kind of already know that, okay, this person has already lived where I'm at, but sometimes they don't. And so what you're thinking about may not be like, they're like, I'm not thinking about that right now, whatever. But I think those open conversations to get them ready, because you need to be, if the goal is to live longer, you want to get there too. Yeah, you want to get there too. You need to think about, finances and health and, caregiving. Like one of the guys on there, he said, like, I'm home alone. What if I fall, in the tub or whatever? That stuff needs to be talked about, just that future plan. How, who am I going to leave this to, or where does this go? Is this going to my nephews, my nieces, or whatever, stuff like that? And just communication about expectations. And I would, even though there's probably stereotypes and assumptions about, well, older people can do this and, they can't do this or whatever, you can debunk those or whatever, because that's not everybody's situation. I know a lot of older people that can outrun me or outdo this or whatever. So, well, I don't know about that. Yeah, but okay, whatever. We don't know. I
saw you run,
and then you never see me run.
I saw you run when we was up on Katie's trail when you was screaming, running because a squirrel was going by.
No,
you look like
and then also
like about to topple over.
Yeah, he's a hater. He can't outrun me. And then like the sexual compatibility, with the older person, they may feel like, can I even please the person or whatever? I think all those needs to be addressed or whatever, because it may not be that the older person is slacking. It may be the young. I mean, but whatever it is, it needs to be talked about. So I'm an advocate for older people finding love and for everybody finding love, really. But when age becomes an issue, I think that needs to be, communicated and not, take on the social pressures or judgments that society puts on you because, you're older, you're limited or whatever. As long as you guys have that common ground and that strong communication, I think you can make it. So that was one of the things I saw in that video. I was like, okay, yeah, that can be an issue, but it's not a deal breaker. I mean, it's not something that you can't, work on and get past. Because yeah, there are gonna be issues because you are from a whole nother, and it depends on how young the person is. But this person is younger or whatever, but that doesn't mean it can't work out and you can't have a successful relationship.
I think you can be in a relationship with someone's younger, or they're old, or you're older than them and stuff too. It all depends on how you approach, stuff when you're with someone that's younger. If you come to them, and I don't think anybody would like that, if you come to them with that know-it-all attitude because you're older and you have experienced stuff. Sometimes young people that are younger than you, sometimes sometimes you have to let them experience stuff for themselves too, so they can, you can sometimes you just cannot go and be, throwing all of your life experiences and stuff with them like you're their daddy or you're their mama or something, like that. To me, that would come off, as offensive. Now there are things that older people can bring to the table, but that's, y'all discuss that, you have open dialogue and discussion, but if one, it feels like they're attacking the other, or using it to have leverage over the other because I'm older or whatever. That's just like with finances and stuff, like that. Usually somebody who is older is going to have more finances because they're more established, and they've worked a long time, and they may have that. But if you bring that into the relationship with the person, and that person is not making as much as you, that's going to cause confusion if you're using that as a way to demean that person or belittle that person and make them feel less than you and make yourself feel like you are better than them or something, right? Because they're, like as if they're not on your level. So if you have that mentality, or you're older and it's like, well, you need to bring something to the table. You gotta be on my level. If you go in there with that, then that's the type of relationship you're going to end up having. Right. And then and I can see where that person, would feel, that would hurt their feelings, or they make them feel bad, or whatever and stuff, like that. But I also think that, being older and stuff too. Yeah, we've done our partying. We've done the scene. We've been out there just like most young people and stuff do too. But I think if you find this stuff out in the dating aspect, right? If that person that you're dating and they're going out all the time and they have to be drunk or they have to be high, or they have to be out all the time and stuff, then don't get into a relationship with that person unless you're that type who's going to be going out all the time, getting drunk, getting high, right, and smoking 24/7 and stuff, almost 24/7. If that, if you can deal with that type of stuff, then y'all should be okay in that relationship. But if that's something, you should know that about yourself before you get it, in the dating phase, before you get into a relationship with somebody who is, out there doing it. Because otherwise it is going to cause confusion because you're going to be the homebody. You're going to be home most of the time taking care of the stuff that need to be done. And that person's going to be out, right, partying and stuff. And then you're going to be sitting there worried like, well, what are they doing? Right. They're coming in late and stuff, like that. And then, then that's where all that insecurities and stuff start playing into the relationship because they're spending more time with other people or doing other things than with you, You
definitely have to talk about your expectations, definitely, because if you could have one perception of what you expect and they have another one, and if y'all don't come together, it's like you're pulling, you're going in two different directions. It's the train is gonna break eventually, because you're pulling this way and I'm pulling that way. So the expectations have to be the same. And speak of money, that was the next thing they kind of talked about. I liked in there. It's like the power dynamics sometimes can be imbalanced because you may, and it don't have to be older or younger. It could just be one partner makes more than the other, and money is an issue or whatever, or it seems to be an issue because one person feels like because you make more, you have more control, or you make the decisions in the situation or whatever.
And it shouldn't be like that.
And it's not. It shouldn't be like that. And they feel like their self-worth and their identity is tied into who makes the most money, and it's like, what? No, we're in this together or whatever. And a lot of them, it's something like it's something within them. It's an issue you have because I've never held money over your head, or hopefully we're not, those type of people or whatever. If you are, consider stopping, because it doesn't make your partner feel good. Sometimes they feel, judged or whatever because they feel like, especially if you haven't had the conversation, they may feel like, am I even worth being with you? Or, do I even matter because you make all the money, so they have a fear of not even belonging, I guess, or even, they don't even feel like you should even be with them or whatever. You could be with anybody. Why be with me? And again, it's almost like the money is tied to you as a human, and it's not. You are not your money, and your money is not you or whatever. I fell in love with you. I'm with you or whatever. And then the different lifestyles. Maybe I live a lifestyle because of the money I make, and you live a certain lifestyle, but that doesn't mean that I'm not here to share with you and equally, contribute into this relationship with what I have. You bring whatever you have to it, and I'm going to bring to whatever I have to it. And that may look different on both ends. What I bring may look this way, and what you bring may look this way, but we're both contributing. We're both sharing this relationship together.
That's and the way it should look.
Yeah, and we're building together.
It's when you're in a relationship, especially if you're living together. When you're in a relationship, then it should be a partnership. Sometimes one can't give all the same, and that's where the other one carries the other one.
Right.
Without envy, jealousy, or
resentment,
and your ego coming in. But we're going to go ahead and do a quick little promotion here for KKMS, and then we'll come back with our discussion here. But we're going to do one little quick promotion. Okay. But it wasn't that. All right.
Yeah. So that was our friends at KKMS, the distinguished gentlemen of KKMS. They always have something on First Fridays. You can check them out at www.kkmsdallas.com, where they will share their weekly events. I believe you can also text them. I don't have that. I'll try to get that the next time. It's probably on the website where you can text and they will send you text notifications every week when they're having something. They do a First Friday of the month if you're here in Dallas, or if you're coming to Dallas, they have events on First Fridays. And then Saturdays, they will have an event. And then they're always there on Sundays on premise. So you can find more information at their website and come out and party with us.
Yeah, www.kkmsdallas.com is their website. And they do. They have First Fridays, the first Friday of every month, like Charles said. They have elevated Saturdays every Saturday at Mila. I think it starts around 4, usually around 4:00. And then they have social Sundays, and that's usually down at on premise. Just to back up what Charles said here.
I need it back up.
That's not what that song's about. Okay. So, let's see what we got.
So we talked about age, and we talked about, the money, because it was like a thing that I was trying.
Nick said one of those models was particularly fine.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yes.
That draws the people in. You put good-looking people on your flyers.
Thirst trapping.
Yeah. Clickbait and all that. Yes. We talked about age, money. So what if sex is the issue?
And a lot of times sex can be the issue. I mean, you kind of, in relationships, people talk a lot about sex and stuff, and a lot of people bloviate that they have so much sex, but most people aren't having that much sex,
Right.
Even whether they're out of a relationship or in a relationship, unless there's some type of, not all of them, but unless there's some type of sex addict where they're going out finding sex from somebody with any random stranger every day and picking up people here and doing that, there's some type of, sex addiction, nympho type stuff going on. But if it's not that, and you just have a regular sex drive, or even just a regular high sex, kind of a high sex drive or whatever, even in a relationship, you're not having sex every day,
right,
all day long and stuff, like that. And then you might start off when you meet somebody, you might start off where you have sex, say you're dating, and before you get into the relationship or something, and just say you may be having sex, and it may be, sometimes it could be every day, or maybe a couple of times a night or a day or whatever, or a few days, a few times a week or something, right? But a lot of times once you get into a relationship, you start liking,
right,
and you once you get comfortable with each other, and then and then y'all start, you become as, in the relationship where y'all come together and you're living, especially if you're living together too, and you're living together stuff, you're doing everyday life stuff or whatever. And sometimes, sometimes sex may be on your mind. It might be on one partner's mind or the other partner's mind. Sometimes it's on both, but sometimes it's, sometimes you're just tired, or you done worked a lot,
right,
or whatever and stuff. Sometimes just a cuddle or a snuggle, or a kiss or something, might have to suffice or something. But once you get into a relationship, and married couples can tell you that too, the sex kind of dwindles down for most,
right,
because you're lifing,
right,
and then sometimes the sex is spontaneous, and sometimes it has to be planned, or whatever. But when these people are talking about I'm having so much sex and stuff, like that, and I'm always doing that, I don't believe most of it, whatever. It just sounds like
say that.
They say it. A lot of people say that all the time. Actually, we were in we were talking about it. We weren't talking about it in our live. We were somewhere else talking about it. And everybody was talking about, how much sex they're having and how much they're jacking off all the time and stuff, like that. I don't even think people, there's some people who do, but I don't even think people masturbate every day. Now some do, but I don't think even people, it just sounds, especially for guys, it sounds good to say they're always out there, they're doing this and they're having this much sex with people and they're masturbating and stuff all the time. But I don't even think people do that all the time. But sometimes you just want to go to damn bed.
Yeah.
Or you got other stuff to do. But they're,
They do
it. I think you should have some type of frequency with sex in your relationship,
right,
but that still doesn't give the person the license just because you don't, if you're not having sex a lot, or all the time with them, or the type of sex y'all used to have, or whatever, that doesn't give them the license to go out and, cheat on you, or do anything and stuff,
right,
like that, just because of over sex. There should be other stuff in your relationship that holds that
right,
relationship together. The sex is one, but there should be other things that holds that relationship together other than just what the sex is, And if you feel like you have to be out there, cheating and stuff, like that, because, just because you're not getting it every day at home or something like that, then you probably don't need to be in that type of relationship.
Right.
You need to be in another, open relationship, or just be single or something, like that.
I have that when sex becomes an issue, maybe it's because it's become to a place where it's routine and it's predictable. So maybe over time, when you are becoming where it seems to be routine. Maybe you change it up a little bit, try some variety, experiment with different activities, maybe locations or times, to just keep it fresh, have sex in the car maybe or whatever, before you just decide to call it before you decide to call it quits or whatever. Yeah, sex in the car is very fun.
It sure is.
It is. Maybe there's a communication breakdown I have here. Maybe, you are not, doing it like the partner wants it or whatever. You haven't discussed your needs and desires. Or maybe there's a misunderstanding like, oh, all this time you thought I liked it that way? No, I really liked it this way. Or I like to be on top, or, whatever it is. Maybe, you need to have that communication before you just decide to, call it quits. Also have, like you said, stress and outside factors. Life is still going on. Work issues, personal issues, or whatever can impact someone's sexual performance. Like, I'm thinking about work or whatever, or I just had something real major happen in my family or whatever, where I'm not really focused on this. So sometimes you have to consider that before you just decide, what, I can't do this anymore or whatever. So consider that. And then I said the emotional connection. Sometimes, it's just gotten weakened or whatever. So maybe we need to rebuild our emotional connection again, spend more quality time with each other, have that communication. And then expectations too. Maybe, your expectations of sex are just unrealistic, like, no, baby, that's never going to happen or whatever. Or, maybe we need to discuss, what we can do in place of that or whatever. And then you said even earlier with physical changes, so I'm gaining weight, my energy level may be going down or whatever. Sometimes those need to be discussed or whatever. And then you can also, we even did a show about kinks and fetishes or whatever, or even fantasies or whatever. Maybe you need to, do like a little fantasy where you guys dress up, or, or you role play. You know what I mean? Make it interesting or whatever. Do something different. Work out one of those fantasies that you may have. And then last but not least, you may have to even seek professional help when it comes to sex on, maybe a sex therapist or sex counselor that can maybe give you guidance or insights into improving your sexual relationship. Because some guys, like, if the sex ain't good, I'm out, and that's why the relationship breaks up. It fades away because of that. So, and
sometimes the sex can be good.
Yeah.
And then they still are out there,
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just, that's who they are.
Yeah.
They're just not built to be monogamous.
And I think in your relationship, you definitely want to have a place where the two of you can meet and it's a safe space. Like, every relationship should have a safe space where I can just express my needs and concerns or whatever, because everything is not going to always be mountaintop. You're going to have some lows, you're going to have some valleys. So you definitely need to have that safe space where you can communicate all this or whatever. Because if I'm not communicating that I'm having issues at work and my partner expects me to perform or whatever, I'm doing him a disservice by not letting him know, hey, babe, today is not a good day, or maybe I can talk to you and we can talk this through, and it may end up in the bedroom or on the couch or whatever. But right now, I'm having a hard time even thinking about sex right now. I'm not even aroused right now. So I would, have that conversation before you just think that, oh, it's over because of the sex or whatever.
Slick says they even cheated on Beyonce, laughing out loud. It ain't safe for no one. Well, it ain't. And it doesn't, you know what? Here's the thing. It doesn't matter who you are. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter how famous you are. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter what you're built like. A person who is going to, their character, okay, it's a character issue, or whatever. Now, when you get into a relationship, if you're dating or you get into a relationship, whatever rules you make, that's what you make. Okay, that's whatever commitments you and stuff you make. If you say we're going to have an open relationship, then you still have to have integrity and hold up to what y'all said y'all rules are going to be, right? This is the way it is. And if you're going outside of that, what y'all said it was going to be, then it becomes cheating. Okay, then but if you're in a monogamous relationship and you both say you want to be in a monogamous relationship, then you need to be monogamous. Because if you're not, then that's going into you have an integrity. Whichever of you doing it, or if it's both of y'all have integrity. That's an integrity issue, and then it's disrespect. It's hurtful and stuff, like that. But don't go into those type of relationships. So it doesn't even matter. As pretty as Beyonce was, as pretty as as whatever, that body, or whatever and stuff, like that. And you can put a whole bunch of other famous people in there too, or people with money and stuff. You still hear these stories of them being cheated on and stuff. So it doesn't matter how good looking, how pretty she was, and the money that she had or whatever. Jay-Z was still out cheating on her.
Right.
She talked
cheating is never about you. It's about the person that cheats.
It's about the person that cheats or whatever. And when they start gaslighting and trying to, manipulation and trying to turn that on you like as if it's something that you did that made them go out and cheat, that's their issue. Whatever. Even though we, when it happens, we internalize it. We blame our, for a while until you can get over the shock and hurt and stuff of it. You do blame yourself. You wonder what you did wrong or what you could have did better. What happened? What happened? Or maybe or I wasn't maybe you didn't feel like you were sexual enough. Or anything and stuff, like that. And you can be sexual. Like I said, you can be highly sexual in a relationship. You can be having a lot of sex, and they're still going out doing that stuff. That's their character. That's their character flaw. That's their trauma. That whatever leads them to go do that type of stuff, and that's their addictions and stuff, like that. Even though we'll take that on for a little while, but you at a certain point you have to get out of that. If not, you're going to be in that constant, which I have in here too. But you're going to be in that constant grief factor, of whatever, where you can't pull yourself out of the trauma that has happened to you and the hurt and pain. But that's their issue, just like you said, and that's their character flaw. Yeah. And it's not a character flaw if you're in a relationship and it's open, and y'all agree to that type of stuff. But if you don't agree to that type of stuff, that you know what I'm saying? So yeah, you're right. You're right, Slick. She was cheated on, and she's still probably being cheated on. Right. You know what I'm saying? And according to what's going out there with all this Diddy and stuff now, she being cheated on with men. And here's the other thing: she may have known, and she may not have known. That may not even matter to her anymore. It might have hurt her and stuff in the beginning because she wrote the song about it. But in order for sometimes people allow things and stuff like that because now it doesn't even matter to me, or whatever. I don't know, but yeah, you're 100% right on that. She was cheated on too.
Another thing that made me think of this topic too is the thing that's going on with Cardi B. Since you bring up Beyonce, they went so viral on Twitter, going back and forth, her and Offset with their relationship or whatever, and it's like, oh my God. And like I want to say they've done this before, and when they did it, her album came out. So it's like, are you pushing out another album or whatever? So I'm like, what's going on? Then I have another one too. I've heard that my partner has a lot of friends or whatever, or they seem to always be with their friends all the time. They're hanging out, they're doing this, and the other partner kind of feels neglected. Like you're always with them. So now I'm feeling insecure or abandoned because you've gone out and just left me or whatever. Or it could just be like past experiences where I've noticed that when I'm out, you seem to get this way when I come home, and it's like, do you have a problem with my friends or whatever? And there's a way, you can bring in this discussion without, it being hurtful, or maybe they've been in a relationship where the same thing caused a problem, where the partner was always with their friends, and it just seems like it's repeating itself with you, and the expectations are different. Maybe you guys went into a relationship and they thought it was going to be this way. You're going to always be under me. We're always going to be hugging and cuddling, and we're just going to spend every night together. It's like, I never agreed to that. So the expectations were different or whatever. Or maybe that's what their dream relationship is that I'm always under you, or you're always under me, or whatever. And then, of course, the communication breakdown too. This stuff hasn't been discussed or whatever. So a lot of people will leave or feel like, my relationship is going to hell because I can never get my partner to like just spend time with me. It's always with his friends or whatever. So I thought about that too, because I've heard a lot of people say that. I mean, I actually had a relationship. It wasn't what broke us up, but it was one of the things. It's like, you're always hanging out with your friends, like your friends are your go-to all the time or whatever. And it's not like I want to be with the person 24/7, but I mean, why can't you invite me out with the friends? And sometimes we would, but I still wanted that, one-on-one, just us. It's like every time we went out, it was with you and your friends, or it's just, you hanging out with your friends. And so we really had to have a, heart-to-heart conversation about that, and set the boundaries and maybe include each other in different social activities or whatever, and make time for each other, and, actually discuss our expectations on how we wanted this whole relationship to go, because you may see it one way and I see it another way, so let's just, discuss this, and so we can all be on one page.
So should we be so if we're dating or in a relationship, should we be Captain Save a Hoe? What do you think about that?
What does that mean?
Should we be are we Mr. or Miss Fix It? Can we, should we be out here fixing people's trauma? Do we get into relationships? Basically, it's like, do we get into these relationships and stuff because, we have empathy, or we get into them feeling bad for the person, and even though they're out there whoring and doing all this other type of stuff, we're still in these relationships and stuff, and we stay in them, even though they're whoring around out there, and we think we're the ones who can fix it. We think we can fix them, or we're the ones to be able to stop them from doing that type of stuff,
Yeah, that's not your job.
It's not our job.
It's not your job. You're just there. If they were looking for a relationship, you're there to be that partner, and not to try to fix anyone. We can grow and we can learn from each other, but I'm not gonna fix something that. So I'm not here to fix what is, breaking us up or whatever, And so, you have to do the work.
So having more sex, thinking you're gonna, because they're out there messing around, and you think, you might be thinking bad about yourself or whatever. Well, maybe I'm not having enough sex or something, or they need more sex. So you go out, you're trying to, that ain't me. I'm just going off of, whatever. But, like, just take a woman, for example, or something, like that, like she's busy, like whatever, taking care of the kids, doing all this other type of stuff. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we'll just say the sex is slacked or whatever, or just you're in a relationship and then you done got busy and you got more hours at work, or you're working late or something, then the sex kind of slacks off or whatever. But the person was already out there being a hoe, and you just maybe didn't know it, or whatever. But then when you find out, you're blaming yourself, like, because we weren't having enough sex. They may have gaslighted you and blamed it on you, like, well, I'm not getting enough sex or something. Mm-hmm. And then should we, go have more sex, or do, spruce up our sex lives, or do this and do that and stuff, or something that may make us uncomfortable, so we can stay in that relationship and try to think we're going to keep that person from going out hoeing. That's kind of what you know, Captain Save-A-Ho is, you know, like we think we can fix somebody, you know, fix that issue or, you know, or something, you know, like that, or fix their sex addiction and stuff, you know, like that. And we take that on ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what that means.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I wouldn't take that responsibility. I definitely wouldn't be in a relationship with someone that doesn't see their issue and is not willing to work on it or whatever. Because why put me through that pain? And why should I have to fix someone to make my life more peaceful? No, you fix that. I don't even want to be bothered with that if I have to work that hard, you know, or whatever.
So
yeah.
So I have here, you know, chronic grief. So like with relationships, you know, when it's like a death when they end, it doesn't matter who ends it, them or you, it still feels like a death. And you kind of go into grief like you're grieving a death. And it says chronic grief, also known as complicated grief or persistent complex bereavement disorder, can occur after a relationship ends. It's characterized by intense emotions and thoughts that don't fade over time and can make it difficult to resume your life. You know, and I, you know, I think that happens when most relationships end. Yeah, and it may be one partner, you know, usually, but both partners, usually it affects both of them. But you know, but sometimes it depends on the one who, you know, who did the leaving or whatever, or left. But you know, sometimes you have to leave the relationship because it's detrimental to your health. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And then, but that can be, you know, the grief that you feel, you know, because you feel like you might have been a failure, you know, and you as much as you tried or whatever, sometimes you still don't realize what actually happened and went wrong and stuff, or what could I have done more to fix this relationship and stuff. But you go into this grief thing where you're blaming yourself, and it feels like a relationship. It feels like somebody has died, you know, like somebody that's close to you has died, you know, or whatever.
It's the death.
And it's like a death of relationship. You kind of feel those same type of feelings that it is like when somebody has died, and you kind of feel like, you know, kind of like, am I going to be alone? You know, am I going to be alone the rest of my life? And then why did this happen? You know, that type of stuff. And then some people, just like with some, you know, with death, like a real death, somebody died, stuff, you know, like that, it's very painful. The grief is almost unbearable, you know, and stuff, you know, like that. But with humans, you know, we're actually made to be able to eventually deal with that, you know, to cope with that or whatever. And even though we may miss the person for the rest of our life and stuff, we're able to eventually carry on and go on with our lives and don't fall into a deep depression and stuff, you know, like that. You may grieve for a few weeks, few months, you know what I'm saying? Like really, really grieve for a few months or so and so like that. But then when it starts going into chronic grief, is where you can't pull yourself out of that, you know, and then that person, and just say you're in a relationship with that person has gone on with their life, maybe got into another relationship stuff, and you're still stuck back there, you know, and you know, thinking that you probably, you know, you can get that person back or they're going to come back to you. You can't pull yourself out of that grief. Right. And you have to, you know, I mean, I know some people don't, and then they end up with real bad mental disorders and stuff, you know, like that. Or some people have been institutionalized and stuff, you know, like that, or taking their own life because of that type of grief and stuff. But I think you have to deal with that. You just have to deal with that type of pain so you can allow yourself to, you know, eventually, you know, now grieve, go ahead and grieve.
Right.
Your grief is your grief.
Right.
It's not like,
it's not going nowhere.
You know, it's, you know, like just, you know, other people might have, you know, people have other issues and stuff, you know, like that. Stuff could be happening to them out in the world and stuff too. And you can feel and have empathy and feel for them too. But you still, you know, your grief is still valid, and it's still your grief and stuff too. And you eventually have to go and, you know, deal with that grief so you can, you know, slowly get over that and move on with your life. And then maybe eventually find some happiness out there with somebody else, or not just find happiness within yourself, you know, or whatever. But yeah, in relationships, they can be very traumatic when they end,
Mhm.
you know, and then you start that you do, because even mine, even though I ended it, I still, just had all type of thoughts and stuff, like that, and was feeling sorry for you. You feel sorry for yourself and bad for yourself, and then you start thinking things that's not even true, about them, or whatever, like they're having this and they're doing so and so, and it's just relationships, when they end, they really are just a mess. But eventually, just like everything else, you're able to move on and get on with your life.
It's a way of life. Anything that you care for and it's gone. Like you see it with pets, you see it with, relationships and parents and friends and family. When you don't have them anymore, it's like, yeah, you have some feelings because you were emotionally attached to this person. You experience things with this person, so you're gonna have that grief or whatever, and it's gonna take time, and you take it at your own pace. Don't let anyone rush you or whatever. You just feel you feel it. You can't ignore it. A lot of people like to ignore it and push it down, but eventually, when you get quiet, and that's why a lot of people don't like to be quiet. They always like to have something on, like the music, TV on. Like sometimes you just need to shut everything off and just be quiet and sit there with your and just let them move through you. Just let it move through you and deal with it. And every time it comes up, you just, you feel it, and you set your intention, or you set your affirmation to say, okay, yes, I was hurt. Yes, we did have this, and I'm feeling this or whatever, and I'm letting it pass. And you just visualize it passing out of you. And sometimes you have to do that. You might have to do that 3 or 4 times in a day, but you do it, and you do it at your own pace, and eventually you're not even have it anymore. You'll be like, oh, you with somebody else now, and then start a whole nother relationship because you've let that process through or whatever. There's no getting around it, So yeah.
Yeah, because it says heartbreak is complex. It's fear, it's grief, it's disappointment, it's anxiety. It's the heartache of believing your dreams may not ever come true, of being in a relationship, since we're talking about relationships, because there's other types of heartbreak too, or whatever. But since we're talking about relationship, when your relationship ends and stuff too, I think you have to give yourself time. If you've been in a relationship, and they, therapists say this, everybody, they say that, and it actually is true. If you've been in a relationship and that relationship ends, and you go out and find somebody right away, you know what I'm saying, and get or just go out and start, some people go out and just start sleeping with people and doing stuff, like that. To me, that wouldn't help me. You know what I'm saying? It may help somebody else or whatever, but that's not for me. I have to get away, get away from that person, whatever. But then I also have to give myself time, not just go out there and just start dating somebody or getting into another relationship right away, or just going out there and having sex with them, because, that's not going to take that, it might take, for some people, that might take that away for just that brief moment, right? But once the sex is over, or whatever, then you're back to where, you're back to your thoughts and your hurt, your pain and stuff again. And unless you're going to go back out there and do it again to keep coating it or taking something to cover that up or whatever, then you're never actually dealing with that pain that you have. And that's why it kind of tends to not eventually go away, because you're just coating it with a Band-Aid.
Right, you don't deal with it.
And you're not actually dealing with it. And myself, I have to deal with it before I can start moving on to date anybody else, or to go out there and have sex with anybody else. And then I wouldn't want to bring that type of what I was dealing with. I don't want to bring that into another relationship or another dating situation and stuff, like that. Right. I wouldn't want to. And then if you haven't given yourself time to heal, then you will probably eventually bring that into your other relationship or something, like that.
Yeah, I have a friend, and I brought this out in my notes too, about like he says that his part, one of the reasons why their relationship broke up is that the partner was always like bringing their frustrations home, and kind of like what Slick said. I like Slick says, most people have trauma and will have trauma. The thing is, you have to be prepared to take them as they are. If you already had discussion about it,
Right.
and he said that when you were talking about the cheating and stuff like that. Now that's something that I don't think cheating is a trauma or whatever, but that's something I'm not gonna deal with. But like the other, like it, for what you're talking about, Slick, about the trauma, people are gonna have their own, experiences and their own baggage and all that they have dealt with. And like, yeah, we need to talk about that in the beginning. And I have to know that you're a person just like anybody else. If I was in your shoes, I probably would have went through the same thing as you. If I had your same upbringing, I probably would have the same thoughts and decisions and reactions or outlook or perspective as you. So I have to take that all into account. I always say when you're in a relationship, you're dealing with two different people that grew up two different ways. Your mother and father raised you a certain way. My mother and father raised me a certain way. I've had life experiences. You've had life experiences. I've had friends. You've had friends. I've had all this stuff. We both have, and now we're coming together. So now we have to find a world where we can coexist. If we say we really want this and we want it to be committed and loving or whatever. But yeah, I would say so. To my friend, I said that you guys need to have a way to where, because this is really what kind of like broke them up. I said, you guys have to have a way where you guys can talk, where he knows that this is an issue when just because they upset you at work and now you want to take that out on me. Wait a minute, I wasn't there. I wasn't the one that, didn't deliver this or didn't email this or didn't call that person or whatever. I'm here for you to vent and let it out or whatever, because I want you to do it on the job and, you end up shooting everybody or killing everybody or
that's a whole total
right.
issue there.
Or you get fired or something. So, I'm here for you to, lay that out on me, but I don't want it to affect us to where now, I have all this baggage on me. Now I feel bad or whatever. Don't do it that way, but that you can just get it out in some kind of way. There's some freedom now, some pressure that's been relieved or whatever. But don't come in, fussing and, whatever. Because to me, right there, you're showing me that you lack communication skills. Because you don't even know how to come in the house and be like, okay, that was work. Now I'm at home. Let me show my baby some attention or whatever. But if you want to discuss work, you discuss it in a way to where it's not, threatening, or it's not like you're mad at me or whatever. And now I'm overwhelmed, you're overwhelmed, and now you on one side of the house, I'm on the other side of the house because we couldn't, So there has to be a way where you guys can like communicate that and really talk about your issues and not it be like this big blow up or whatever. So, and to me, yeah, I advise my friend, and like right now, I don't think they're together right now, but I mean, they can get together later on once that person has healed from whatever they need to be healed from, or realizing that this is an issue with you bringing work home and discussing it like you discuss it to me or at me or whatever. So,
yeah, I'm with you, I'm with you, Slick. It's like, most people do have trauma. I think most of us have some type of trauma growing up in life. It can be different than like what you said, Charles. It can be different than somebody else's trauma and stuff. But, no matter how great or how small or slight that trauma is, most people have had some type of trauma in their life growing up or in relationships, or whatever caused the trauma and stuff. And I can only speak for myself. I can deal with most people's trauma because, but it depends on that type of trauma that it is, because most people are going to come into a relationship with some trauma, and you can deal with it and discuss it and stuff, like that. The trauma that I can't deal with is if it's the disrespect, if it's the constant disrespect, the cheating and stuff, like that. Now, sometimes, I do believe that sometimes a person can make a mistake, or something happen and they're in a relationship and then they end up being unfaithful, just say it happened that one time or something, but when it becomes a pattern and they're constantly out there, and then they're lying to you about it and manipulating, and then and it's in a pattern, then that's disrespect to me also. That's disrespect to me, that's disrespect to the relationship, and it's also disrespect to them, disrespectful to them too. But the most trauma I can deal with, I can't deal with physical violence, I can't deal with the infidelity, what I'm saying, and the disrespect. I know people have bad days and sometimes they're angry, or and they may get a little loud or something like that. I can deal with that type of stuff, long as I know that you're not taking that and punishing me because of it. I can deal with that you're hurt or something, like that, and then it does warrant like a discussion or something when you're because the person may not be ready to discuss it at the time or something. When it warrants it, then you can talk about it. But if they're coming in and they're directing that anger at you because something has happened to them or whatever, and then they're punishing you for it, then that's where the issue. And when that becomes a pattern and it's constantly happening and stuff, then you need to get out of that relationship. But I can deal with people. I can deal with most trauma because most of us have some type of trauma. Right. Some people's are greater than others, know? And sometimes, loving that person and being there for that person and stuff, sometimes that can help them alleviate and deal with that trauma. But when it becomes a problem, when they start turning it on you and doing things to you or doing things to the relationship to harm the relationship, with their trauma. And everybody that has had trauma is not abusive. Everybody that has some trauma is not not emotionally abusive to people and stuff, like that. Some people, there's a lot of people who have had trauma in their life and they do the exact opposite, and they don't go out and harm anybody and stuff, like that. A lot of times they end up getting harmed because they don't want to harm nobody. Like my cousin was just in here talking about how nice she was, and she's very nice and stuff, like that. And somebody, as nice as she is, she'll get with a man or whatever, and he can run right over her because she's had some trauma and stuff in her life and stuff too, but she doesn't go out there and project that on somebody else, or whatever. I don't know, I ain't in her relationship that she's in now and stuff, like that. So but I could see her just going overboard, what I'm saying, to make that relationship work, because she is so nice and she doesn't want to hurt anybody, and or whatever. So, but sometimes you can't be. Sometimes you have to get rid of that niceness. Sometimes when it starts, what I mean, when it gets to the point where they're abusing you or punishing you for stuff or whatever and stuff.
You just have to call it quits, because there's no reason for you to change yourself. If you're a nice person, you're a nice person, and I'm not going to change myself because you're trying to take advantage of me. I just need to not be with you anymore, because you're not going to make me into a bitter person and a mean person or whatever. Yeah, like we was at the little thing the other day, this little conference, and I've heard this before, and I like that this guy's like this. He says because of the way when he was an employee, the way his employer, all the bad things that his employer did to him or whatever, or ran the group or the team or whatever, he made it a conscious decision not to do those things. And it's like, how do I want to feel? How do I want to be treated or whatever? And so that's how he treats his employees or whatever. And so a lot of people, they've gone through the trauma, but they have made a conscious decision. I'm not going to repeat this behavior on other people or whatever. because I didn't like it. So I know they're not going to like it. So why would I do that? But a lot of managers, they think that makes them I'm the big man if I do this and say this or whatever. No, it makes you look foolish. It makes you look, it makes you look real stupid that you find your whole identity in how you can crush people and hurt people and, just almost just demolish them because you found this one or two or three things that they didn't do just like you wanted it to be done or whatever, instead of encouraging them or coming beside them and saying, well, let me walk you through this again, or or let me have another person sit with you, or whatever. There's other ways to correct a person or admonish a person or whatever. But I like the fact that he was able to see, I didn't like this, so I'm not gonna do this. And just like your cousin, if you're a nice person, then just be nice regardless of them. But if they're gonna be that way, I would leave it before they poison you to where you're starting to whatever. But it's good that we have people that are like that, to be like, even though I'm treated this way, I'm not going to treat the other person. Right. Because like we say, hurt people, but you can make a decision because I was hurt. I'm not going to hurt people.
Right. And that's just like where it comes down to infidelity and stuff too. I could use my own father as an example. He cheated throughout the whole marriage, right? I saw that. I saw. As I got older, I knew what it was. I didn't know what it was younger, but I saw that. And I saw how it hurt my mother and stuff too. Some people, they'll see that in their parents and their relationship, or whatever. They'll see that, and then they go out, and then when they get older, they go out and do the same thing. They think that, well, my mother did it, or my father did it, or something, whatever. Or this is the way it is, and I'm going to go out and do it. Well, see, I saw that, and it made me go in the opposite direction. Right. It's like, no, I don't want, I wouldn't want to cause anybody that type of hurt and pain. And it made me not do that type of stuff, whatever. Mm-hmm. Even there was no physical abuse in my family or whatever, but I saw it in other places, and sometimes with cousins and stuff. And I saw that type of stuff. It made me not go do that type of stuff, I saw the hurt and pain and the what it caused, and it made me think, when I grew up, it made me like, no, I'm not gonna, that's, I don't want to do that and cause anybody that type of pain, and there's lots of people out there who are like that, where, stuff has happened to them, and they've had trauma and stuff, like that, and they've used it to do good in the world and stuff. And then there are those who use it, they've been hurt and traumatized and stuff, and they use it to go out and cause harm in the world. Case in point, P. Diddy. You know what I'm saying? But it depends on, just because you've been traumatized and just because you've been hurt, whatever, that still doesn't give you the license to go out there and do that to somebody else, And then, and if you find these things happening and you see this as a pattern and it keeps happening and stuff, you need to get some help. You need to get some therapy, to somebody that can help you try to stop that stuff, because all you're doing is causing pain, to yourself, but you're also, continually causing it to somebody else. And it says, sometimes the relationship breakup is the best thing that happened to you. You may not have been equipped to handle this kind of toxic relationship. Sometimes you need to leave to learn and grow. And, and that's what Craig, the writer Stewart, always says. He says relationships are where you go to learn and grow. And I believe that, because, it's just like, if you don't learn from it, you're going to end up repeating that in another relationship. You know what I'm saying? And then you'll bring that trauma and grief and pain into another relationship if you don't learn from, and sometimes we have to go through pain in order for us to learn. Sometimes we have to learn, learn a lesson, just like I said, God will send a few, he might hit you with a few pebbles, and when you ignore those pebbles, which is your instincts, your gut instincts and your, the red flags and stuff and like that, if you ignore them and stuff, then you end up getting into these relationships, then that's when the boulder comes and hits you, and then you're going to end up dealing with that grief, whatever. And then, Craig also, he had posted this on his page, on his channel, and I like, I like this, I like this here too. It says there's a difference between a person who hurts you by making a mistake, and then that's what we were talking about, kind of like, just say you're in a relationship and then it could be they made a mistake where they may have went out and something happened and then they end up sleeping, whatever the reason they end up sleeping around or doing something, whatever. Mm-hmm. Yeah, people do make mistakes and stuff, like that, and they can actually have remorse and feel guilty about that and don't go out and do it again, and stuff. And y'all talk about it, y'all, you can talk about it or go see that you get some therapy, or something, like that, where you can fix the relationship, right? Mm-hmm. But then, but it says there's a difference between a person who hurts you by making a mistake and a person who hurts you by continuing a pattern. Mistakes can be forgiven. Patterns should be broken. And then when it's continuous and it's constantly happening and they're gaslighting you, they're lying all the time about, whatever stuff, or they're blaming you for their shit like we talked about earlier. And then that pattern still keeps happening, and they can say, well, I'm going to fix my, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do, and they don't do it, whatever, and it keeps happening. I think you should leave, because it's not going to get better. And all you're doing is making yourself miserable.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And it says Heather T. Day, that was her quote. And Craig had, I guess he found it on Twitter and he had put it on his page. And, the other thing is, condolences to him too, because, his mother died the other day. So, condolences to Craig. I don't know if he listens or whatever, but, condolences to him and his family and friends and stuff, like that. Because he was, he had went home and she had, had some issues and ended up in the hospital, or, that her heart stopped, she stopped breathing and they brought her back and stuff, like that. But just a few days later, she ended up dying. So
definitely in our thoughts and prayers, Craig.
So,
I found this article with some, because I'm pretty much through, but I found some articles with these funny breakup things I thought was funny.
Is it a little chuckle?
I guess so.
Let's do a little chuckle here. Chuckle of the week.
So the one guy says that this guy dumped me 3 months into the relationship because I was so much taller than him and he couldn't betray his short kings. So he doesn't like tall guys. That's crazy way. Right. And then another one says, I have an Android and we stopped dating after the third date because he had an iPhone. Group text will be broken when I include you. I don't like the green bubbles.
Okay, those are silly reasons why people would break up.
Yeah.
That means they have issues anyway.
Yeah,
you're not even going to be in a successful relationship anyway.
Right. This is why I call it chuckle, because they're funny. They're stupid. And then I dated a guy who told me my Spanish sounded too American. What? And not fluent after a few days. And then he ghosted me. Wow. And I'll read one more. Let's see. A few times I've been turned down because of my height. I'm 6'8", shallow-minded people, to be honest. I'm 6'8", shallow-minded people, to be honest. That's crazy. But yeah, there's so many reasons people come up with breaking up. But I think that the guys on the little talk show that Craig did, they had valid valid opinions and valid experiences they've gone through. And I was like, that's something to really be discussed, because there is a time in relationships where if we don't really, because you have to treat it like it's something important to you and it's valuable, almost like a child, like a baby or whatever. It's only gonna be as good as you make it and that you work towards or whatever. And there are a lot of people that get into these little stumps or whatever, or these little downs, or whatever, and they don't know what, how to recover or whatever. And I'm all for, saving a relationship if it's, great for you, it's not harming you or anyone else. I'm all for it. However, I think that we should always, keep for me, and I'll say that for later, but I thought it was a good discussion or whatever. And I know there's so many reasons, and I wanted to touch on a few that that I've heard, like the age, the money, the flirting. Like I don't know if I touched on the one, but I've heard, people break up because they feel like their partner is flirting too much or whatever, or what they perceive to be
That's called
flirting.
emotional cheating. That's
Emotional cheating. But everyone is, just because, and that's why I said, or what you may perceive to be flirting, because you may perceive it as flirting, but that they may not be flirting or whatever. So I think, again, communication has to be had, because I could just be a people person or whatever. Not necessarily
sometimes you can tell when, if you're out with them, you can tell from the body language, the eye contact, what's happening, that they're actually.
And sometimes it's their insecurity,
and they can be flirting back and stuff, like that. So
sometimes it's their insecurity,
and that can be disrespectful if you're in a relationship and you with that person. Now, if you ain't with them and they're doing it or something, like that. But if they're with you, they're standing there with you, and somebody's like flirting with them or whatever, and they're flirting back or something, that's very disrespectful.
And then, past experiences, maybe they, had a negative experience with that or whatever, and they're just already assuming that's what you're doing or whatever. Because you could be, I'm taking it as like you're the person that, that they assume that you're flirting, and it could be their insecurities, it could be past experiences. You may have a different way of communicating. Your communication may be, hey, I like what you have on, I like that outfit or whatever, and they take it as flirting or whatever. And then there's also they may have a fear of competition. Like if you tell them I look good, if they look good, then that's a threat to the relationship, because now you're telling someone else that they're worthy or they're attractive or whatever. And it's like, no, I'm not. And then maybe there needs to be there needs to be some boundaries. So maybe you guys should have a conversation and say, hey, when we're out, let's set a boundary that, we're not going to be, you're going to show me respect when we're out and not be so overly friendly, because that may be just your personality, and you could be overly friendly, and it calls me discomfort when I see that or whatever. And I know it may not be your intention or whatever, or it could be. So either way, it needs to be addressed or whatever. So yeah, those are just some of the reasons. And then I think I'm through. I just have some pointers on how to maybe keep the love alive if you can. Other than that, if you have anything else.
You go ahead, Tom.
You're done?
Yeah.
Okay. So some ways to keep the love alive, I have prioritize the quality time, make time for each other regularly, plan dates, date nights, simple activities, communicate openly, share your thoughts and feelings honestly, encourage your partner to do the same, show appreciation to each other, express the gratitude, small gestures of appreciation, they go a long way. Keep the romance alive. Surprise each other with little romantic gestures, whether it's a heartfelt note or surprise them with something, or maybe a surprise date or whatever, or just simply expressing how you love them verbally or whatever. Explore new activities together. Like I said earlier, maybe a cooking class, or maybe try a new recipe or something like that. Maybe even take a dance class. So, there's so much that you can do out there to just keep that connection going when you kind of feel like it's dropping or whatever. And practice patience and understanding. Like I said, you guys grew up differently. You come from two different experiences, households, whatever. Have patience and understanding with each other. set goals together, discuss your goals with each other, personal and as a couple. You know, that to me, that brings us all in. Like now we're a team and we're committed to this, and revisit it every once in a while. Okay, hey, let's go over our goals again. Maybe create rituals, like, you know, we have like little things we do together, like every morning, let's go have coffee, let's meet at the Starbucks, or let's check in, you know, to foster that, you know, connection and intimacy. And then I have seek support if needed. If you need to talk to a therapist, if you need to go to couples counseling, maybe do that. And last but not least, celebrating milestones. You know, celebrate the anniversaries, celebrate the achievements, small, little, big, whatever. Special moments in your relationships, you know, celebrate those things. I think those are ways to keep that love alive if you can. But if by all means, if you're in a relationship where you think you know, or feel that you're being hurt or whatever, then yeah, of course, I would let that go. But if you're wanting to stay in it, I would, you know, try my best to walk out everything I could before I just let it go. So,
Yeah, I agree with that. And I would say communication, you know, open communication and dialogue is the key. You know, empathy, you know, have empathy. You don't have to, it's not sympathy, but, you know, have empathy for what your partner may be going through, you know, and stuff. You have some understanding, and, you know, and do what you can to, build on the relationship to help the partner. Because like I said, we're going to be up and down. So, because you may need that in the relationship one day too, where they carry you, you know, but then when they need you, I think you need to be there to carry them. Not punishment, not if they're doing punishment or any type of abuse. Though that's different. But if none of that type of stuff is going on, you know what I'm saying? Then have some understanding, and then just deal with, you can deal with the traumas and stuff, like that, as long as there's open understanding and discussion, and
yes,
y'all have empathy for each other and understanding. And then you want the relationship to work. If you don't want the relationship to work, and if it's so bad, then you just need to get out of it. Or whatever. But if it's worth salvaging, and you know that the love is really there, not love on one part, where one loves and the other one doesn't really love or whatever. It's not mutual. But if that love is really there, and there's something there that can be fixed, and worked on and stuff, I would say, go to therapy as a couple together, so y'all can work that out and make that relationship work. But if it's detrimental, if that's a bad relationship and it's really detrimental, I don't think anything really is going to help it.
Right.
Even therapy, I don't even think therapy would help that.
Just
but that person to get in therapy and lie. That person to get, that person can get in therapy and lie.
Right.
Because if they're doing a lot of lying and all that stuff in the relationship, they're just going to get into the therapy to do it. But if there's a foundation there that in your heart that this can be fixed, and that person is willing and you're willing and stuff, go to therapy and get some therapy to help that relationship work, instead of just ending it, right then and stuff, like that. If there was any type of infidelity, and if it wasn't chronic and sex addicted in that manner or whatever, then, talk about that, and then, get some therapy to help y'all get over that hurdle and hump, and help you get over that pain and grief,
Communication, respect, trust, and love.
Right.
Those are I think the things you need to stay in you want to stay in a relationship,
Yeah, I mean, trust, you want the trust and stuff there, but there's times when, there's the trust breaks down in the relationship, depends on what happened.
Wow,
so there's not always going to be like trust 100% stuff in a relationship. There's times when there's more and sometimes when there's less, depending on what doesn't happen and stuff.
Yeah, all of those can break down. The communication can break down. Respect can break down. The trust can break down.
I don't think anybody trusts anybody 100%, even if they say that. I think people say that, but I don't think anybody trusts anybody 100%. Because if they did, we wouldn't be in these predicaments with these relationships like that.
Yeah.
But then, you got to have some type of trust there. But I don't think anybody trusts it. I think when people say that, I don't believe them. you know, it's just whatever, you know, whatever. I don't think anybody trusts anybody 100%.
I think you'll trust them until you get hurt, and then it's like, okay, now I'm not, you know, now it's not at the same level it was. Like you come in with that 100, because I don't know you, I'm give you the benefit of the doubt, but as you disappoint me along the way, I think that trust lessens over the time or whatever.
I don't think they go into a relationship. I don't think you even dating and going into relationships. You go. That's just my opinion. I don't think you go into it trusting them 100% because you don't know them. You know, when you first date somebody, you don't even know them. You know,
it has to be earned.
You know what they say or whatever. You take it in as, you know, that could be trustful, you know, or whatever stuff. But you know, sometimes you trust people until proven guilty,
right?
Or whatever. But I don't think most people, you know, you're open to the trust, but I don't think you trust anybody just right away, because sometimes that can be very detrimental to you,
right?
To trust somebody right away.
You definitely have to earn.
It doesn't have to be relationship; it can be anything,
right?
You know, and trust is earned, and then once you earn the trust on both sides, you know, whatever, then that's when the trusting comes in. But I don't think anybody goes in just right away, just trust. If they do, the ones that do, a lot of times, you know, and we've all been there because we done that, you know, and we end up in trouble.
So there are people that do it.
Mm-hmm. Now, there are people. There are some people who are 100% trusting, but then they get their heart broken a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? They get their heart broken a lot, and then they have to break that pattern themselves of just always trusting somebody,
blindly
just trusting somebody, because otherwise you're gonna always be hurt, and then that's gonna be detrimental to your own self, where you end up with mental issues, or you know what I'm saying? Always with a, you know, yeah. I don't know. But anyway, we want to thank everybody for joining us today, and we appreciate y'all. You know, like, share, and subscribe.
I know we're competing with the American Music Awards. They own so. But we know some of y'all will come back and watch it, or you'll see it throughout the week. So if you have any questions or anything, leave your comments, like, share, subscribe.
Yeah, we be competing with a whole lot of people. So, you know, with a whole lot of stuff going on
well,
TV,
especially now because
it's
football season now. So football is on, and then the Housewives are on. But I know tonight, because I have friends texting me now about the American Music Awards, Mariah's song or whatever. So I know a lot of y'all that normally would be in here probably watching it, or you just out and about or whatever. But you'll catch us, and we do appreciate you stopping by and taking the time to watch us. Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Bye, world.
Bye.
Bye, Dallas.